This is John Bailey, the epic voice of Honest Trailers, and you're listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. It's a Fangirls podcast with five-ish people. The tangents and squee will continue.
Tangents as we continue all the way to episode 317 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. And what is grief but love persevering? Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. So glad you could join us. Let's start off like we do every week on the virtual table and see who has joined us this week.
This is Brittany and Troy.
This is Chrissy in Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
We're back.
We are indeed. We are.
Just a little, blip.
Life happens, as we all know, from time to
Our
time.
broadcast got temporarily disconnected. But now
we had to go deal with some reality, but we've told Agatha to go back in the basement, and everything's fine now.
Oh my goodness! Oh, that's so exciting. Okay, well, we got to do the news first, though. So
yes, we do have some news.
Yes. So first up, convention news. Gen Con for this year is still happening. Thank goodness. That's the good news. The bad news is if you had the August dates blacked out on your calendar as Gen Con time, hopefully you wrote that in pencil. And you can erase it and now block out September 16th through 19th instead. So right now they're still planning on having an in-person event, but they're hoping to have a hybrid slate of concurrent in-person and online experiences. There's also going to be, they're also going to cap the attendance. So it's not going to be your usual 50,000 people at Gen Con, which is always a good thing. Because it is overwhelming just how busy it can get some days at Gen Con, which is
I was going to say that number.
Yeah. It's like pandemic or otherwise, if you don't like crowds, you're going to have an issue.
It sounds amazing, and I've had friends that have gone and like it's so crazy good. You need to go, but then I think of those numbers of people, and I'm like, I got to think about this.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, a lot of it depends on what your priorities are. If you want to spend a lot of time in like the main vendor hall, then yes, it's just going to be like wall-to-wall people all day, every day. If you're there strictly for gaming, and a lot of times specific games, if they're like the big ones like Magic and Catan and some D&D and stuff like that, those usually have designated areas. Okay. So you can stay there, and it can still be a good number of people, but they're people that are there because they are into the same thing you're into. So at least you're in common ground. So, and then if you stick to even like the stuff that's not as heavily attended, like the writers' workshops and some of the panels and stuff can be less crowded. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So yeah, they're going to cap the attendance. There's going to be online events that you can do from home. They're going to do some live streaming. They're also going to do some pop-up events at your friendly local game store all over the place. So stay tuned to the website. So, if you can't make those dates, there's still going to be Gen Con adjacent events going on.
That sounds pretty cool.
Outside of downtown Indianapolis. So,
I kind of like that idea of,
Yeah.
your local game store, like, hey, we're affiliated, and if you can't get downtown or don't want to go with the big crowds right now, then just keep it wherever it is you go gaming.
Mm-hmm.
So that's neat.
Yeah. So, because the change in dates did take a number of people by surprise, who were all like, I already requested off work, and that's it's unfortunate.
Well, at least it's far enough out that maybe it'd still be okay. I don't know. I mean, everyone's workplace is
right,
different, but
yeah, and for
Right.
some people, that's already in the school year, so school's already started for the kids.
Mhm.
But again, it's going to be different where you live. Things like year-round school, maybe they're off. I don't know, because
yeah, they
right after Labor Day, so who knows? Some schools don't start until after Labor Day, so it's just it is what it is. You're never going to be able to accommodate everybody, and while this doesn't affect me at all, but I do also have to give a thumbs up to Gen Con, because they have specifically stepped up and made announcements and are actively working on options, because these dates that they got were really the only ones available at the convention center, because by then we're also getting into the NFL season and all the other things that the convention center and Lucas Oil are used for. But that particular weekend also happens to be Yom Kippur, which is like one of the biggest Jewish holidays for those that are,
celebrate
practicing Jews. And so they are actively working with local synagogues and stuff to offer things like services and transportation to services and stuff like that. So they can, if they come, they can still participate also in Gen Con, but also their, I don't know, whatever services, rituals, whatever is.
Well, that's a good.
So.
That's great. Good job, Gen Con.
That is a great idea.
Yeah. So that is Gen Con. So here's hoping that it actually happens in person.
Yeah.
Come September. Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, I think the way things are going, and I mean, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole necessarily, but and like around here, even it feels like it's starting to kind of loosen up a little bit. So we'll see. Hope springs eternal.
Yes. That is true. So there's that, and then moving on to award season. Since we had the Golden Globes, we now have nomination announcements for the BAFTAs, which is essentially the British version of the Oscars, essentially.
And the Emmys, because don't they do TV at this one too? Or is that a different one?
Yeah, though they do. It's mostly movies.
Okay.
But they have, it's all movies, but they do have some categories that the Oscars don't have, like best casting is not one that we do for the Academy Awards. And then they also have best international film or best international feature, but then they also have a category specifically for best British film. So but yeah, most of the nominations are ones that we saw for the Golden Globes. So there's not really anything, I think, surprising there. But those will take place on April 11th. And then we also actually now have the Oscar nominations too, because the Academy Awards take place not long after that, on the 25th of April. And again, most of the nominations are the same. for pretty much all those categories. So we'll see what happens. So thankfully or unthankfully, depending on how we look at it, I have not heard anything from our cohorts about going toe to toe again this year. So I think we're off the hook for having to try to pick winners.
Especially since, did anybody see anything last year?
Yeah, other than in the animated category, you know, I've seen Onward and Soul. So
yeah,
maybe.
that's what I've seen.
Yeah, yeah.
I've seen those too.
Yeah, you have to like. Thankfully, like all the major categories like Best Picture and stuff, because of the pandemic, all of those are available on some streaming service, but they're not all on the same streaming service. So you almost have to be subscribed to all of them to be able to see everything.
Or at least get the free trial, whatever that is for that particular streaming service. Some of them it's 2 weeks, some are 30 days.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you got to keep track of what you've canceled and what you still need to before you get charged.
Yeah.
What I usually do is like, I'll get it, watch what I want to watch, and then cancel it as soon as I'm done with it, and then boom.
Yeah.
Well, some of us will have to do that.
Yes.
If we're really that motivated to see them, and I'm sort of like, well, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. It depends. Depending on the movie, like if it's one I've already wanted to watch anyway, I would like, okay, maybe I'll go for the effort.
Yep. So, but the like I said, the Oscars are on the 25th of April. So mark your calendars, I guess, if you want to watch. However, they plan on doing that. Apparently, they're not going to have a host, at least not a singular host, because
they haven't
had kind of like the Golden Globes where they just do live from all over the place. So we'll see. Speaking of Oscars, moving on. Latest episode of Gold Standard is in the feeds. We did Gentleman's Agreement. So that was the big winner for 1947. Spoiler alert, not the most lauded movie we've ever done. Surprisingly enough, no, I was not the Russian judge. I was not the Sokovian judge for this one.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because usually you're the Russian judge.
Dear diary, today Rachel was actually not the harshest on an Oscar winner.
Yes.
Back in the day. Mark this day down.
Yeah. Dun dun dun. You'll have to listen to find out. So there is that, and that's really it for the news. Although we have a bit of housekeeping / news. I'm not sure exactly. I know Rob said that he was going to make some sort of post, make an official announcement. So maybe that will be coming soon. I know he's still actively working on getting the website up to date because the entire website got a revamp. But we are now, our podcast is now officially part of the Southgate Media Group family of podcasts. Woo, woo, woo. Technically I was already part of it because of Gold Standard. But Rob offered to have Five-ish Fangirls join the family and explain to us, what what that would mean, and we talked about it amongst ourselves and decided,
Sure.
let's go for it. So we are now part of really an amazing group of podcasts, and I'm not just saying that because a number of the people that host those podcasts are friends of mine.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we've appeared on a good number of them. So
yeah,
Rob is, like I said,
and quite a few of them been on Oz.
Yes.
right. Yes.
Yeah.
They're all good. They're all splendid chaps, all of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Rob's still working on bios for everybody, and it was a lot of work because he wanted all the shows that we've ever guested on.
And some of us were just like
hold that thought. Give me
scroll.
Yeah.
2 Word documents later.
Yes. Some of us are a bit podcast happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No regrets.
Yeah.
You do what makes you happy, folks.
And those are just guest appearances. That doesn't count this show.
Right.
And
exactly.
the 300 plus episodes. And Gold Standard with the 20 plus episodes that we've already done. So
I was just thinking, like, aren't you guys coming up on a year soon, or is my time?
No, Gold Standard started not long after. It's actually Gold Standard's birthday is like not long after our birthday.
Oh, okay. Some reason I thought it like
June.
started. Some reason I thought it started soon after all the lockdowns started happening.
Nope.
Okay. Well, it's not like I have a great sense of time anyway.
Yeah. It's like, all I know is today is Monday.
Yes.
We're recording.
Yes. And the day constantly reminded me, yes,
Yeah.
I'm a Monday.
Yeah.
But woo, yay, podcast. Yay.
Yes, at least I have the podcast to look forward to.
Yep. So we're real happy to be part of the Southgate Media Group, and I think it'll be a win-win situation all around. It's nothing is going to change as far as I'm talking to our listeners. Nothing's going to change for you guys. The show is going to stay exactly the same. Nothing's going to be the show must go on. Cue the Freddie Mercury. It's just that brings us into the Southgate fold and the support of Rob, who is just amazing with all the back end stuff, marketing and all those things. The man's got a business degree, so plus just it gives us access to ways to be in touch with all the other hosts of all the other podcasts. We now have a dedicated Slack for anybody who uses Slack for their work, which makes it really easy for us to be like, hey, we're talking about this topic. Anybody got expertise?
Easier than sending a crap ton of emails.
Yeah. Yeah. Constant back and forth and making sure people read it. So yeah, it's just on the back end, it's gonna make things a little easier for us. So yay, it's exciting.
Very.
So that is it for the news. Moving on to feedback. We got just a little bit of feedback. We got a comment on our most recent post from our last episode. Last episode we did Running for Fandom, talking about we talked about Random Tuesday, and Brittany and I have been collecting medals.
I have 3 of them on the way, and
Holly's got some coming that we now have a photo album on our Facebook page, so you can see our medals.
As soon as mine come, I will get pictures.
Yeah,
I haven't signed up yet because payday had I had to get clothes for my kids, but I saw the Sassenach 6K and I'm like, ooh, Outlander.
Yeah.
So
that one coming for me.
that one's on my radar. So the next time I get paid and I have a little extra scratch, then that's going on my list.
Yeah.
I'll let you. Yeah, you ladies will have to guess the other two. Brittany, don't talk.
Oh yeah,
she kind of already knows.
Yeah, and I know Brittany has joined the Facebook group, at least the Whovian one.
I have
Whovian Running Club.
I have two.
But then there's the Fandom Running Club one, which all of those Facebook groups are enablers, which does not help any.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
all I did was look at the website and like, ooh, these look pretty.
Yeah. No. The Fandom Running one.
I want this one and this one and this one and that one.
Yeah, the Fandom Running one. For the last couple of years, they have been doing Battle of the Fandoms, and this is unofficial Random Tuesday, so it's really just for, you know, fun and games. But they do kind of a bracket type. So they pick fandoms that have not really been represented in the official Random Tuesday, with Supernatural being like the exception. But so they do just random fandoms. So like this most recent one where we're getting ready to start, there's I joined the Marvel one.
Oh, cool.
There's a Supernatural one. There is a one for Scrubs, one for Dolly Parton, one for fans of Les Mis, and I can't remember some of the others. A Supernatural one. There's a Muppets one, and I cannot remember the Princess Bride.
Darn.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. So you sign up, you do like your top 3 teams, and then based on that, they want to make sure that the teams have even numbers of people. But once you're put on your team, they have in this case it's 10 days, and each team uses a app where you go and do your runs or walks, whatever you do that could be measured, on your phone, or if you've got a Fitbit or whatever. And each day you upload your mileage, and then they just add the mileage together. And essentially the fandom at the end of those 10 days with the most points wins. And then they've got many things. So like they're putting like Marvel and How to Train Your Dragon. That's the other one. So they've put that like similar fandoms together, and like between those 2 or 3 fandoms, whoever gets the most of that gets bonus points, and like which team gets the most miles within a 24-hour period that's already been pre-designated gets bonus points, and that helps break ties and stuff. So, and at the end you just get the chance to gloat, saying our fandom's the best because it got the most miles and therefore the most points and stuff. So but so that should be interesting.
Yeah, I forgot to sign up for that.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I do too.
they don't have medals for that one, but they do have shirts. So if you wanted a shirt for a particular one, because they come up with designs and stuff. So
cool.
Yeah, the whole just Random Tuesday running thing, they're just all a bunch of enablers as far as
Yeah,
signing
I'm part
up
of the
for-
Potterhead one too, and I'm in that group. And they also have like house common room groups.
Yeah,
So I'm in the Ravenclaw one.
It's kind of like that meme when they say, "And you buy one more, it could be drugs. At least it's not drugs."
Yes,
It's almost the exact opposite of that.
Yeah, I've already gotten to the point where I've already gone, and it's on its way, and I ordered a medal holder.
Yeah,
nice.
One of
I'm
those
gonna have to get
racks
one,
that
'cause
you can put your medals on, and it also holds your bibs. So
I'm gonna have to find a way to print out my bibs.
yeah, so off to Kinko's or the like, Office Depot or something, your local library.
Yeah.
Yes. Library's probably cheaper.
And I've
Yeah.
also
It depends on what you have access to.
yeah.
Brittany's out in the boonies, so
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. Very that's close.
Yep.
So
but yeah. Anyway,
over
back to
there.
our feedback. Dan just sat there.
Well, it's like
Like
we'll
10
never get
cents.
to never get to Westview
right.
at this rate.
Yeah. Back to the actual feedback. Our comment from unknown. They didn't bother to put their name, so it just said unknown. They said, "Brilliant! Already a fan of this group, but wow, learned some info." So, thumbs up. Thanks.
We aim to please.
Yes, I'm glad that you got to learn some more about Random Tuesday. That was kind of the point.
Indeed.
So, and no mention if the mention of Band-Aids made them cry. So maybe that was just me.
We won't judge if it did.
Nope.
Not at all.
Yes. Just like Anna with Christoph. Go ahead and cry. I won't judge.
Trust me, I've cried over weirder things than Band-Aids, so
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, random person, for your comment and for your listen and taking the time to comment. And
Yes,
hopefully
thank you.
are collecting medals like the drugs that they are as well.
yes.
You know we love reading, but sometimes it's hard to find time to physically sit down with a book, which is why the Five-ish Fangirls has proudly partnered with Audible. Audible is a leading provider of spoken word entertainment and audiobooks, ranging from bestsellers to celebrity memoirs. Whatever makes you squee, there's a perfect listen for you. Every month, members get 1 credit to pick any title, plus 2 Audible originals. Whether you're adventuring through time and space, running from dinosaurs, or capturing ghosts, with the free app, audiobooks go where you go. You can download titles and listen offline, anytime, anywhere. Even if you switch devices, you'll never lose your place. And right now, Five-ish Fangirls listeners can sign up for a free 30-day trial by going to audibletrial.com/5ishfangirls. That's 30 days to check out not only their huge collection of audiobooks, but also podcasts, guided wellness programs, theatrical performances, A-list comedy, and exclusive Audible originals you won't find anywhere else. So continue the joy of reading with Audible. Don't see a title that trips your trigger one month? No problem. Your credit will roll over to the next month, and you can quit anytime and keep the books you've acquired forever. For more details and to sign up for your free 30-day trial, visit audibletrial.com/5ishfangirls. That's audibletrial.com/5ishfangirls. And now, back to the podcast. All right, so moving on to this week's main topic. Brittany can be our New Jersey expert.
Yes.
I'm gonna say this. I've actually never been to Westview, so I can't say like the.
Wait, is Westview
how
an actual
accurate it
thing?
is,
They didn't make it up for the show?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
There is
Cool.
there is a place in it's like a something I don't remember. but
Unincorporated?
it's a place. Yes, thank you. Unincorporated West in New Jersey, in Westview, like East New Jersey. It's close to New York.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. But is there an Eastview, New Jersey, though?
That I have no idea.
Well, you should be able to find out. New Jersey's not a very big state.
Yeah.
It is not.
That is.
There's a lot of tiny little town villages. It's like I don't know what all of them.
Townships.
Yeah, townships.
Yeah.
Oh.
Cool.
So anyway.
So, yeah, put on your best 50s housewife dress and let's hop in the family car and head off to Westview, New Jersey for WandaVision.
And be prepared for all the Sokovian cultural activities.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my
Yes.
goodness. Oh.
Couple just moved to town, a regular husband and wife who left the big city to find a quiet life. WandaVision. She's a magical gal in a small town locale. He's a hobby who's part machine. How will this duo fit in and pull through? By sharing a love like you've never seen. WandaVision.
We're gonna dive into this. We're gonna go episode by episode because this is what the MCU does. Best. It's telling a story but building on what's come before. And WandaVision does that on, the small screen essentially in 9 episodes. But I mean, this is the MCU. This is what they do is the callbacks to things that's happened before, not just in the movies, but TV shows as well. We will get to that. Thank you, people in charge, for keeping stuff in canon, as much as some people want to complain that stuff is not canon anymore.
And
laying the groundwork
now.
Yeah, laying the groundwork for things that are the things we know are coming, things that we assume are coming but have not been officially announced. Things that should be coming and we hope are coming but have not been officially announced. This is just for, originally pre-pandemic, the plan was, as far as production was concerned, that they were going to produce these Disney Plus series, and we were supposed to get Falcon and the Winter Soldier first. But with everything that happened, we got WandaVision first, and actually, I think in this case, that was a good thing. I think this is the show we needed first. As weird and different, and just like, we got those first 2 episodes because they released the 2 black and white episodes essentially on the first day, and immediately social media was like split between people going, oh my god, this is so good, and oh my god, what the F has Marvel done? I don't get it.
I will say this, and I may very well be in the minority here, but so in the Marvel movies, I loved Wanda and Vision. I love their relationship. I love their characters. Well, I wanted more of Wanda from Age of Ultron on. And I never felt like I got enough of it. And so when they announced WandaVision, I'm like, oh, that's got to be a show about Wanda and Vision. And then Infinity War happened and Vision died. And I was just like, well, what? No. So I was a little upset. So I'm like, well, no, I'm not going to see them, get to be a couple or anything. And I was very disappointed. And then, we kept watching, and then the pandemic happened. Then they announced, oh, this is still going to happen, and they had the promos for it, and like, okay, what is this? I'm very intrigued. And if nothing else, just first off, it's something new to watch, something to look forward to, which
we have not gotten new Marvel sets.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's not even just, it's not even just new Marvel. It's something. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna try this out, and these are 2 characters I like, so I'm gonna watch it. So yeah, I loved the 50s and 60s at the black those sitcom episodes. I had a ball with them. I just loved it, and I'm like, I don't care if this is building up to something. I'm not theorizing about anything. I am just going to enjoy. Because it's been a long time since I've had anything that I could just sit down and enjoy. And that's exactly what I did. And I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, I don't get it. What's with the sitcoms? Da 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 da." And I'm like, you know what? Go away, fun suckers.
Yeah.
That's basically my attitude.
Yeah.
Not for you. For me.
Yeah. I mean, it's not for haters. Sorry. You know, haters may be hate, but they're not welcome. Hater party over there. Go play in the basement. But
take the haterade with you.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But the other thing that I immediately recognized in general after just those first 2 episodes is you just have to look at the MCU as a whole. The real world, it is 2021. The MCU started in 2008.
Yes.
It has been almost 13 years since Iron Man. We got RDJ going, I am Iron Man, and getting that first post-credit scene with Nick Fury and all that, kicking off the MCU. This May, it'll be 13 years.
That's crazy.
That'll make you feel
crazy.
Old. That'll make you feel old.
Yeah, we are going into phase 4 of the MCU. At this point, yes, we are still going to be getting new things that we have not seen before, like the Eternals movie that we're getting coming up. That's going to be something new that, unless you know the comics, it's not something we've really seen in the MCU yet as far as content. But at the same time, not all content that is coming from Marvel and Disney for the MCU is not for newbies. They are making things for those of us that have been here for the long haul and don't need to be spoon-fed information.
Right.
We're willing to watch, take in what they give us, fill it, either by doing our own research in between movies or episodes or whatever to, figure out Easter eggs, if a name gets dropped or something, we can go look that stuff up, or we're just happy to watch as they connect those dots for us.
Yeah.
Whenever those dots get connected, whether it's the end of this series or in this case, we got kind of a ending at the end of this series, but the story's not finished and not going to be finished. This is the MCU. It's never really finished, but we're not really going to get a conclusion to this part of Wanda's story until Doctor Strange, which isn't due out until next year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and also, like we were saying, this isn't, necessarily for brand newbies.
No, this is for the fans.
Yeah. Well, and kind of going off on that, it's like, well, this is on a streaming service. And yes, it's a streaming service that a lot of people have. And Disney Plus is pushing, like, every time you open it up, there's like, here's our brand new thing. Right now they're showing Falcon and Winter Soldier on the banner on the thing. So yes, they're pushing it. But at the same time, it's like, and maybe things are changing. Maybe after this pandemic, the paradigm will shift a little bit. But I always feel like, okay, movies are sort of the general audience. They're like, oh, I want to go see a movie on a weekend. Again, this is without a pandemic. And what's playing? Oh, there's a new Marvel movie. Well, I didn't see the last 2 or 3. Well, let's go anyway, and just to have something to do. And so a lot of people go into these. So, I mean, there's the people who are hardcore, like, oh, I got to see it opening night. But then there's the people who are like, maybe it's been out for a few weeks, and they're like, oh, I just want to go see a movie. So they go see it. They might not necessarily sit down and watch it on streaming because, like, first off, how many streaming services are there that people have? And there's like a million things you could be watching. So, and like I said, the paradigm could be shifting a little bit with everything, our quote unquote new normal. So maybe it's more like, okay, yeah, the fans are going to seek out WandaVision or these Marvel TV shows on Disney Plus, they are going to sit down and purposely watch these so they can have that piece of the story that's going on, because we're invested in it. We've seen these characters. Like I said, I really wanted to see Wanda and Vision as a couple working out their relationship and being superheroes and all these things. I wanted that story. I really did. So I was like, yes, I'm going to sit down and watch this. Maybe the other Marvel things I'll sit down and watch, and maybe they aren't quite what I'm looking for. But this one, yes, this is what I want. So, yeah, you're right. This is more for... I mean, you don't want to say this and be like, oh, this isn't for you. But at the same time,
we're not. I'm not gatekeeping it anyway.
Well,
I'm just saying
that's not what I'm implying. It's I've kind of done my time. So creators, you people who was telling the story, thank you for rewarding me for sticking with you. Yeah. So I mean, and if a newbie comes on and like, oh, I want to see what this is about. Well, okay, you've got some homework to do. Like you said, 13 years worth of movies, but you're gonna enjoy it. So but yeah, I do like that feeling of, hey, I've invested in this, so thank you for rewarding my loyalty.
That's exactly what it felt like. That's exactly what it felt like. I'm like, yes, this is. I've stuck around, and I feel like I've been given something like a medal, It's like a fan of running. Like, here, you've been a fan, you deserve a medal.
Yep. And they, we actually get into some meat of Wanda's backstory, and even a little bit with Vision and with some of this other stuff that's going on. And the one thing I love about WandaVision is, for the most part, and I'll address the not most part, it is something new from Marvel. I mean, we love Marvel, and they've done a great job with these stories. That being said, there does seem to be a bit of a formula, and it is getting a little samey in some ways. This made it. This was different enough that I'm like, oh, you're doing something new and exciting, and I'm interested. Not that I wasn't interested before, like I said. But you kept me going. You kept with this new approach to it. You kept me interested as we're going on, because this was a week to week. This wasn't like, here's these 9 episodes, go binge. It's this week you watch it this week, and I kind of like that, because we don't really get that anymore, especially where they're paying homage to sitcoms.
Yeah,
and those are a week to week thing. So I kind of like the weekly. Okay, we're gonna sit down. It's Friday night, or Friday. If I work on Friday, I have to do it in the evening. Friday night, I'm going to go home and watch this. This is going to be my reward for, the weekend, getting through the work week. So I really I like that with that they're doing that. And I know some people are like, well, it's streaming. Why don't you just drop them? I'm like, because then it's over in a blink.
Yeah. You don't really get a chance to absorb, especially with these movies or these TV series that are part of a larger universe. Because we've people complain because I saw people complain about WandaVision, like, why do I have to wait week to week? I just want to binge it. And I'm like, well, they've been doing the week to week since we got The Mandalorian. We've got 2 seasons of Mandalorian week to week, but with stuff where it's part of these larger universe and therefore so rich with just stuff and references and building upon what's come before and building on what's coming next, you almost need that to watch it
and
absorb
digest
what
it.
you saw, digest it, maybe do some research, maybe watch it again to see what you missed the first time around. And then when the next one comes around, you've had a chance to actually retain, because if you binge, you don't necessarily retain what you watched.
There is something to be said for binging, like if that's what you want to do.
Well,
and
certain things I think can and should be binged.
Yeah,
well, not should be binged, but
if the format lends itself to it, then do it. I'm just saying, like, this is something, it's different. And after a year of all we had to do was, sit and binge movies and shows, it's like, it was nice to step back and now you can binge it if you want to, because it's out. But it was
Beforehand, it gave you something to look forward to.
yeah. And I mean, I know it's weird to say that because we're like, oh, streaming services are awesome, but like every time like a show is dropped on Netflix, whether it's Stranger Things or Fuller House or something, and I watch all the way through it, and I'm like, well, now it's over. Now what do I do?
Mhm.
Whereas, so it feels like I had the sugar rush, and then I crash.
Mhm.
But this one, I'm like, I kind of got to enjoy it. It was a nice marathon.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was a paced out marathon.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like 7 weeks of just yay.
Yeah. So, I liked it. I had a good time. It was just fun. And
Yeah.
It was a break from all the stupid crap happening in the world.
Yeah, that too.
As is right and proper,
Yeah.
I think. But
Yeah.
anyway, so
So that's like our initial thoughts, but let's get into the meat and potatoes here,
yes.
or in this case, Steak Diane.
With lobster thermidor as a
Yeah.
next course.
Do you set your own jellies?
But of course.
Yes. So, yeah. So we're gonna go episode by episode here because we really need to talk about see the progression and how it builds upon itself and tells this story, especially with this overall kind of theme, because this chronologically starts 3 weeks after the end of Endgame. So, Hulk brought everybody back, and then we have the big showdown with Thanos, and of course Wanda was one of the people that had been dusted, because of the blip, as they're officially calling it, I guess now. And they called it the blip in Spider-Man, and now they're calling it the blip in here. So I guess that's what we're calling it, is the blip.
It's not the snap anymore.
Yeah.
As a sad.
I kind of like the snap though.
Yeah, but Wanda was one of the people that disappeared for 5 years. So she gets brought back, and of course, since Vision died right in front of her twice, once by her hand and then by Thanos's, she gives Thanos a run for his money, and with between her and Carol, they could have taken him out if he had not, brought on that barrage. Really. Your powers come from an Infinity Stone. Watch out. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. So, and Tony Stark sacrificed himself to get rid of Thanos and all of his minions. And then the last time we saw Wanda was at the kind of memorial service at the cabin. So it's now about 3 weeks after that. Thanos being defeated fully, and Tony Stark's death and everything. So, and last we saw Wanda, she was with Hawkeye, talking about those that they lost, because we also lost Natasha, which is weird to think about considering we're getting a Black Widow movie. It's like, Natasha's not gone. Oh wait, no, that's before. Timey-wimey. So now we are in our first episode, which is in black and white, takes place about the 1950s. The episode 1 filmed before a live studio audience, which it actually was.
Yes,
they actually
filmed.
I
love.
They did. If you have not watched the Assembled on
You
Disney
need to.
Plus, the behind the scenes stuff, do so, because it's just crazy just how authentic they wanted these first 2 episodes to be. I mean, they wanted authentic through all of it, but especially these black and white sitcom, Dick Van Dyke, Bewitched, type TV shows. And I love the fact that they actually, because the first one, the house, is styled after the home in the Dick Van Dyke show. they actually went and talked to Dick Van Dyke to make sure that they got this as, correct to the way it was when they made the Dick Van Dyke Show. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, there are some of us over here who like grew up on sitcoms, whether, it was Nick at Night or the first run ones. And I'm just like, I loved it. I loved every minute of it. And I know, it's kind of its own funny little genre, and it's not quite as much done today as it was back then. But, it's charming and it's sweet.
Yeah.
And the effort that they went through to make it authentic, even to the point where Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany are straight up, they are so channeling all those old sitcom actors from way back when, and I'm like, it just warmed my heart that I'm like, oh, you guys, you actually do care, and this is awesome, and I love it.
They used authentic lighting. They actually filmed with similar cameras in black and white. So actually Vision is painted blue because that actually looks better in black and white than the magenta that he normally is. So you see the behind the scenes, which that's in color, and you see Paul Bettany walking around with the Vision makeup on, but he's got a blue head and hands, and it's like, wait a minute, that's not right. But it's the way it worked for in black and white. They sometimes needed to use odd colors because it looked better in black and white. For those that don't know, here's a little weird piece of trivia. Like the Munsters house, their walls were pink.
Yeah. Well, and the Addams Family, the exterior, it was bright pink.
Yeah.
And then, in Doctor Who, in the black and white ones, the center console was like mint green.
Yeah.
It wasn't that gray. It wasn't gray or white or anything, because it just looked better on the black and white film.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm definitely one of those people that grew up with a lot of those sitcoms on Nick at Night, obviously reruns. I'm not that old.
But like we said, there's a certain charm to it, and that they went that they worked so hard to make it authentic. It's great, and it's not just a cheap gimmick. They actually put some effort into it.
Yeah. And it starts, it kicks everything off. Most of these episodes have a era appropriate theme song to go with it. All the music was done by the Lopez's, who did the music for all the Frozen. So
and Coco, and so if you've got if the music for Frozen and or Coco has ever been stuck in your head, and this music is now getting stuck in your head, you can blame them, because it's the same people. But it was so awesome. I loved all of it. Yeah.
And it fits so well with the time periods as we move on.
I keep bouncing around different ones getting stuck in my head.
I mean, the 80s, 80s one, I just loved.
You wander the world with a vision of what life could be.
But then the years come and teach you to just wait and see. Forces may try to pull us apart, but nothing can faze me if you're in my heart. Crossing our fingers, singing a song, we're making it up as we go along. Through the highs and the lows, we'll be right, we'll be wrong. We're making it up as we go along. And there will be days we won't know which way to go.
Yes. Yeah.
It was perfect.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
this one is now obviously you don't have to be a psychologist to I think to know this. Most people know this, but there are officially, unofficially, these 7 stages of grief.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, as human beings, most of the time, if we suffer a loss, we will go through these stages. It's not always in the order that you see them listed. They
Right.
will sometimes you will bounce around. Sometimes you'll repeat steps. You may go
Mhm.
from denial to anger, back to denial to, starting to work through it, and then something, will trigger you, or you get reminded of something and you suddenly to guilt. So, but in general, this whole this whole series is really giving Wanda a chance to work through the stages of grief, because she's gone not just the loss of vision, but the loss of her parents as a child, where she and Pietro were stuck in their home with that Stark bomb for 2 days, not knowing if it was going to blow up. And going from that to volunteering for Hydra and being under the thumb of Strucker.
Yeah.
He'll always have time for you.
Oh gosh.
To becoming an Avenger, but then the incident with in Lagos, and her being called a terrorist, and with the events in Captain America Civil War, and then the Infinity War and Endgame. She's just been through a lot.
Yes.
Since before even that, she was in Sokovia. She was living in this war-torn country.
Yeah, the one episode where it flashes back to her life is like the mom looks out the window and there are, it's a literal war zone, and they're about to sit down and watch the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Yeah, because that was their escape. Their
was their
dad
escape.
got these
Mhm.
American DVDs seemingly illegally, and he sells them probably on the black market to make money. But that's what the people in Sokovia, there was a market for that because they needed something to escape from.
Which is a lot of true to life of most like communist countries, like Soviet Union and from back when, and in North Korea now, is they would they still smuggle those movies and that media because it's hopeful to them. It's hope, it shows them like what life could be like when they're not under the dictatorial thumb of whatever egotistical little snipe, and that's the nice word I can say. Or just to give them like there's somewhere that this life isn't what reality is. So it's, to us, maybe in the West it seems a little like, oh gosh, that's so trivial, but no, it actually helped them a lot. And as WandaVision shows, for Wanda, it's how she copes with her grief, because those shows were with her at all of her really hard moments in her life. So if anyone makes fun of you for your fandom, well, gee.
Yeah. Well, and it's even like that for people not in countries being ravaged by war. I've seen. Yeah, I'm sure other people have seen it too. It gets that on Facebook every now and then, that image or whatever, that people the reason that people will watch the same TV shows or movies over and over and over again is because it's familiar enough that if you suffer from depression or anxiety, you're not going to have those feelings because you know what to expect.
Yeah,
It's comforting.
It is comforting.
The whole war zone thing, that's just one example, but yeah, I totally agree. I'm like, I do the same thing. I think we all have those moments where like, I don't care, like give me an episode of Full House. Like I know it's fluffy nonsense. I don't care. That's what I want right now.
Yep,
and
exactly.
actually, in the middle of watching WandaVision, I'll say this: my grandmother passed away at the end of February, just about when WandaVision was starting to wrap up, and it was actually a Friday that we got the news. I was home, and I was just like, and I knew it was coming, and it really hit me hard, but like. And I was like, well, WandaVision's up. I should have watched that. And I just thought like, oh, I'm just watching it because I've started it. But it was just kind of this cathartic moment of, I'm not dealing with family drama right now, and I'm doing something else. And it really helped. It and it's helped. This kind of stuff's helped me before. So I mean, we're talking about grief and stuff like that. But so there's that.
Yeah. But this first episode is really kind of denial.
Yeah.
There's really nothing other than when we get to that point at the dinner party where Mr. Hart starts choking, and it actually ends up going into Twilight Zone territory. They changed up the camera angles and some of the music and the lighting and stuff, so it's a bit more Twilight Zone. And Vision uses his powers to pull whatever it is that Mr. Hart's choking on out of him, because he's able to phase through solid objects. So he's actually able to reach in and just pull it out of his esophagus. And that's kind of the and them struggling before that to kind of tell their story, because they're getting the third degree from Mrs. Hart. It's like, where'd you move from? How long you been married? Why don't you have kids yet? That sort of thing. And it's not. That's the first time where we kind of get the things are not exactly what they seem moment, but it's not enough breakage that you can still have that kind of veil of, this is reality, and Wanda is in pure denial of what has happened in reality. For her, this is reality.
And bear in mind, like you said, this takes place just a few weeks after Endgame, but because Wanda got snapped, blipped, whatever.
Yeah.
For her, Vision just died. Just a few minutes ago, basically.
Yeah.
Because she's been gone for these 5 years, and she hasn't had a chance to process any of this, and now she is. So, yeah.
So there's a few Easter eggs. We'll cover the Easter eggs for each episode too, at least some of them. There's a lot throughout the entire series, but some of the real notable ones. The wine served at dinner is called Maison du Mépris, which means House of Contempt. And there's also a big M on the bottle, because House of M is partially what they're basing this storyline on, where Wanda, in the comics, she creates a alternate reality where mutants do not exist. So kind of in the same vein, we're still not using mutants officially yet. We'll get into that. But it is the idea of Wanda creating this entire alternate reality because she cannot handle what's happening in the real world. The date on the calendar is August 23rd, which, if you write that in a way that usually you see in Europe, where they put the date and then the month in that order, that makes 23 the 23rd day of the 8th month. 238, Avengers comic number 238, which came out in December of 1983. That is a comic that talks about how Vision was revived after a period of hibernation. There is again references to the reference when at the very beginning when Vision comes into the kitchen and Wanda's doing the dishes and putting them away, and one of the plates breaks as he's walking in, and he's like, "My wife and her flying sausage," and she's like, "My husband and his indestructible head." No, not so much, because his head was ripped into
Too
by
soon.
Thanos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Too
was the
soon.
first one I caught on to. I was like, oh
Yeah.
gosh,
Ooh.
that hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, our ad in this one, the Toastmate
Mhm.
2000 by Stark Industries,
Mhm.
with the blinking
With that
red
ominous
lights. But
ticking.
it sounds an awful lot like Tony's repulsors
Yes.
firing up.
I mean, there were some of these that I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so morbid, but I kind of like it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Mhm.
So there's some Easter eggs there. So episode 2 is the other one in black and white, but we moved slightly ahead to the 60s, where TV is slowly going from black and white to more color. But some series start in black and white and end up ending in color as they go on, like Bewitched. Started in black and white and ended in color, which the opening sequence of this, the animation style,
Oh, I
the
love
opening
that.
of Bewitched.
I had to rewind that one and watch it again because I was just like, I love this.
And there are so
Yes.
many Easter eggs just
Yeah.
in those, just in that opening.
Mhm.
There are 6 twinkling stars, the 6 Infinity Stones.
Mhm.
In the when Vision phases through the floor, you can see in the floor there's the helmet of the Grim Reaper, who is a enemy of both Vision and Scarlet Witch in the comics. When Wanda's at the grocery store, you see advertisements for Bova milk. Bova was in the comics. Bova was a sentient cow who helped raise Wanda and Pietro's kids.
Hmm.
I mean, if we
Interesting.
have a sentient horse that is probably coming in Thor, why not? So, Auntie A's cat litter, Agatha and her cat from the
Agatha.
comics, Ebony. There is a statue of the Wizard on the table. The Wizard, at one point in the comics, was thought to be Wanda's father, and then eventually was killed off in the Vision of Scarlet Witch. And actually, the Wizard appeared as a character in Jessica Jones in season 2, I think. It ended up getting killed too, actually. So there's several Easter eggs just in that opening. And we get introduced to a few more characters, because now that we've kind of established that Wanda and Vision are living in this town, Westview, and we only really met Mr. and Mrs. Hart and
Agatha.
Norm at
Or
Vision's
Agnes.
work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Norm at Vision's work, where Vision, nobody knows exactly what they do at that company, which again is kind of a trope from sitcoms.
I was gonna say.
Like, Dad works. What does he do? I've got no idea.
No.
He
He
just
just
works.
goes to the office.
He sits at a desk and the
Does
boss yells at
things.
him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know.
And we were introduced to Agnes and the mention of her husband, Ralph. So,
Yeah.
but
And-
beyond that, we really don't get any other characters. So
Mhm.
here,
And kudos to Catherine Hahn
oh my
playing
God.
Agnes.
Yeah.
She
Yes.
is just awesome.
I'm going to wax poetic about her
Mhm.
for this entire thing.
Mhm.
Yeah. So now we get more of the town, because Wanda and Vision, now that they've moved in, are now trying to be more involved in the community. So they're going to perform a magic act in the community talent show, which is a fundraiser for the children. Everybody
For
say
the-
it. For the
question.
For
children.
the children.
For
Children.
the children.
Where
The
are
children,
the children?
that we don't see for several episodes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Their stage names, Illusion and Glamour, are actually stage names used by actual magicians, a couple, Ilya and Glynis Zarkov, who are Vision and Wanda's neighbors in the comic The Vision and the Scarlet Witch.
Ooh.
We're also introduced to Dottie, who ends up being kind of a red herring. She's just a neighborhood bitch. She's not really anybody important.
Yeah. But when
Mhm.
when you're introduced to her, you're like, I don't like you.
Yes.
And
Right.
there's a reason for that, but no, that's
Mhm.
she's just mean.
Yep. No, she's just
Perfect.
the
I
neighborhood
mean, the
bitch.
perfect red herring.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I remember like when I first saw her thinking, are you going to be
At
the
some
big
point,
bad
we
or
will have
something?
to talk about all the red herrings in the show.
Yes.
Yes.
Cue pup named Scooby Doo line.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We're also introduced to Senor Scratchy, Agnes's rabbit, who apparently played Baby Jesus in the nativity play, among other things.
And what a name for a pet rabbit.
Yeah.
Senor Scratchy. You would
Senor
think-
I
Scratchy,
know.
because
Cat, yes.
Nicholas
no.
Scratch is Agatha's son in the comics.
Ah.
So
Oh.
Yep.
Old Scratch himself.
yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then we're also introduced to Geraldine in this episode, who
Mhm.
thinks Wanda's pants are peachy keen.
Oh yeah. This is just it's so much fun.
Yes.
That's going to be my tagline. 'Cause I just
Yeah.
grinned through this whole thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Played by
Mhm.
Tiona Paris, who is going to be important
Doing that.
really quickly. Yeah. So we get the fun talent show. We get to know more of the residents of Westview, including Herb and Phil, who Phil is apparently Dottie's husband. I think he is rethinking his life choices.
Oh
with that.
goodness.
So we
And,
get to,
and again, in this episode, it's like I don't even care that I'm really watching WandaVision or that I'm watching a Marvel show. I'm enjoying this sitcom, and at some point I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for the next episode of the show. Wait a minute, it's gonna change in the next one, isn't it?
Mhm.
Oh darn, because I was just really enjoying all the sitcom stuff.
Yeah. Yep. They pull off their magic act, even with Vision essentially being drunk, kind of,
Mhm.
because he gets gum in his. I love the cartoon that they did too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
he
he's
gums up
way
the
more
works.
advanced than that, but they really dumbed it down to be
Uh-huh.
more appropriate with that animation. It's like gerbils running in wheels to keep his gears going.
They were just this episode. They were just so clever with all of that, and it just it gave me the warm fuzzies just
Yeah.
all around.
Yeah.
Like Marvel, you magnificent, you're wonderful.
Yeah.
I don't know how you did it,
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
there you go.
so WandaVision end up winning an award for the talent show as like the best comedy act or whatever. And they come home happy because they're like, yay, we succeeded, we're fitting into the community. Their trophy that they come home with is Scott Lang's greatest grandma from
Mhm.
Wasp.
I didn't notice that.
Marvel's like, we already got a trophy. Let's go to the props. We got a
Like,
trophy.
what do we
somewhere.
got?
It says world's greatest grandma. It's gonna be in black and white. They won't be able to tell. It'll be far enough away from the camera.
Nobody will care, won't,
Oh.
right?
Yeah. The house that Wanda and Vision are living in, at least as far as the exterior is concerned, at this point is the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation house. And the house next door, Agnes's house, is the Murtaugh house from Lethal Weapon.
Oh, cool.
My goodness.
Because both
That's
houses
very-
exist at the Warner Brothers Ranch, which is also where the Bewitched house still sits, which this episode is based on, essentially, is Bewitched. So that's fun. But we do get a bit more of reality starting to break in. Wanda finds that helicopter that is in kind of the Iron Man colors, but it's got the sword logo on it. When Dottie
Yeah.
when the we get the voice trying to break through on the radio when Wanda's with Dottie, and Dottie freaks out and breaks the glass, and we actually see the blood on her hand is red, and that kind of, it breaks the spell for a minute. And I love because it Help Me Wanda is what's or Help Me Rhonda is what's playing on the radio, but when Jimmy Woo's voice is coming through, every so often he would say Wanda, and it would be right in time with the song, so it'd be like Help Me Wanda instead of Help Me Rhonda. I love that.
Yep.
Yeah, that was.
I will admit, when I first heard that song like years and years ago, and I always would sing it as Help Me Wanda.
Oh.
I just always did, and now I'm like, yes, thank you. Somebody has vindicated me.
Those
Nice.
misheard lyrics work now.
Yes, it's like no, it's like so
Little
Marvel
did you
fixed
know.
it. Yes,
Yeah.
Marvel fixed it for me.
Yes.
You were right all along, Chrissy.
I was, and I'm gonna take that victory and run with it.
Yep. And then at the end, we get the big reveal that Wanda is pregnant.
And in true sitcom fashion, she gets the announcement, and then she's like 8 months pregnant. 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but so they have the moment. They're like, "Oh, is this really happening?" Like, yes. And then there's a disturbance outside, so they go outside, and we get the appearance of the sword beekeeper because the sword in the comics, the sword suits, kind of like their hazmat type suits, have always kind of looked like a beekeeper suit, so they've always been kind of unofficially been called beekeepers, sword agents with that suit. So to have him literally turn into a beekeeper is a nice Easter egg.
Yeah, it's like a nice little wink, like we, you know.
Yeah. And we see more of Wanda controlling things because we get a rewind. Like
She's
that
like,
never happened. No.
Yeah.
And she and Vision are going back to having their moment of, oh, we're gonna have a baby, and everything turns to color as it did with
Well, kind of
in general.
kind of to jump back, I loved the I think it was this one with the opening where they hear stuff rattling
Yes.
outside their window.
Yeah.
And Vision's the scaredy cat.
Oh yeah.
The whole thing. And Wanda's like, really?
Yeah.
I guess I'll have to take care of it then.
Yeah.
I guess you will.
Yeah. Yeah. And the beds go from being two separate beds to being one big one. Like, ooh, husband and wife sleeping in the same bed. And then
Like,
suddenly
nah,
Wanda's
this isn't gonna work.
pregnant. It's like, oh, gee, how did that happen?
Well, kids.
Well, Ricky and
Leave
Lucy ended up with child, and she and Ricky slept in separate beds. So,
Yeah.
at least with Rob and Laura, they already had their kid. So, and they never had any more, so you can just do the math. So that moves us to episode 3, now in color. Imagine that. And this is pretty much Wanda goes through 9 months of pregnancy in 30 minutes, give or take. a couple seconds.
You know, she's running the reality. She can do what she wants. Apparently.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we're in the 70s, and we get another great opening credit, very in the vein of the Partridge Family or the Brady Bunch, as far as you know, the La Tambourines, da 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 da, WandaVision. You know, the house is definitely a bit more Brady Bunch. You see Vision trying to put together a like swing set, and the grass is obviously like the AstroTurf that the Bradys had. You know,
like, what are you growing over there?
Yeah, it's like, go mow the lawn. There isn't any lawn. Oh, mow it anyway. Meanwhile, Herb is supposed to be trimming the bushes and is
he's not.
He's not. But yeah, there's lots of calls to fun 70s things, you know, with the polyester, all bottoms,
the color that's the kind of reds and browns and
and
orange.
Then you get a lot of orange, and then you put Geraldine in just this blue, like, super bright blue outfit with
it's kind of
pattern,
like
crazy pattern, pants.
It's kind of interesting because there's all those, you know, browns and reds, those kind of 70s colors, and then here's Geraldine in blue. It almost like that's almost a clue there that she's something about her.
Yeah.
You know,
she stands out. She's not fitting in like everybody else.
And, you know, and she's got the blue eye, that eyeshadow with like blue, silver, whatever it is. I'm just like, dang.
Yeah, but as Wanda gets more and more pregnant and eventually goes into labor, the pregnancy's messing with her powers, which creates a lot of kind of wacky shenanigans.
And the numerous coat changes.
Yes.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah, which was crazy because again, they're still filming in front of a live audience, so they would have to like a lot of these effects they would have to do. You know, like when Wanda was trying to make dinner in the first episode with the recipe cards floating, they just had them on, you know, fishing line. And, you know, if something had to do a quick change, they would be like, you know, when the chicken, when she burns the chicken, they just had someone hiding behind the counter and they'd be like, you know, she would do the move, she would, you know, pause, and then they would swap it out. You know, for a burnt chicken real quick right there in front of the audience, and then they could just, you know, cut the film you know, afterwards to make it work. So yeah, they're still doing a lot of special effects practically. So like when the coat changes, Elizabeth would just have to hold it, they would come take the jacket off of her and put the new coat on and then keep going, you know. So but yeah, so and at this point, we're as far as the stages of grief, you can kind of equate this to anger a bit, especially Wanda's reaction to Geraldine after her babies are born, because Vision has gone off to go collect the doctor, and Geraldine comes over, and then again they try to do the sitcom trope of hiding the baby belly with just stuff. Like some fruits and big coats and stuff, till eventually Wanda can't hide it anymore, and there's a stork literally walking around getting ready to, you know, the stork's here to deliver babies. So Geraldine is there too. She helps deliver the first baby, which is conveniently behind the couch, and she just happens to have a blanket to wrap the baby in, and it's perfectly clean and crying and happy and all these things.
And kind of a little big for a newborn.
Depends, I guess. For twins, yes, that is big.
Multiples are typically a lot smaller.
Yeah.
But
again, magic.
Yes, magic.
Yeah. So and then Vision is there to help deliver the second baby. So now we've got Billy and Tommy because they were arguing over names. Now they don't have to decide because they've got one of each.
Yep. And Wanda pushes, let's hope for a girl.
Yeah.
Here's the way to solve it.
Yes. Like there was never any doubt that it was going to be a boy. And then we get another ad in this case for Hydra Soak.
Oh, gee, I wonder what they're referencing there.
Yeah, I have no idea. All I know is between this and alternate reality Coulson in the framework with his homemade soap. Stay away from any Hydra bath products, apparently. Hydra and bath products.
The
I love that
anti-Calgon.
though, because it's like it's such a connection. It's like blue soap. If it's by Hydra, stay away.
Yeah.
Phil Coulson warned you in the framework.
Soap of blue, stay away from you.
Yeah.
I was like, how do I rhyme? How do I make that rhyme?
Yeah. So, but now the realities really has been broken. Because Wanda starts talking about how she was a twin and she had a brother, and Geraldine, I'm doing air quotes, you can't see, Geraldine is like, oh, he was killed by Ultron, and then Wanda realizes, gets a better look at her and sees the necklace that she's wearing is the sword logo, on a pendant, and we don't see it, but first she's there and then she's not. But yeah, she got really mad and made Geraldine go bye-bye.
Yeah, you need to leave now.
Yes.
And up until now, like, we've gotten little hints of what's out there, but what's outside this little town. But this time we actually see a bunch of stuff. Like we see this military style camp and vehicles and all this stuff. It's like, okay, what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah. A few Easter eggs from episode 3, when Vision is practicing the diaper change. The doll that he practiced on is Kitty Carryall, who is a doll from the actual Brady Bunch. And actually, we see her later in the series when we see Wanda watching the Brady Bunch.
Yes, and it's that's
so it's that doll. And of course we get the hexagon shapes in the opening title sequence, which is a nod to in the early comics of Scarlet Witch, her powers were called hex powers, that could cause random and unlikely events to take place, which for the comic book writers enabled them freedom, because it meant that they could use her powers for pretty much anything because plot. And then kind of a behind the scenes Easter egg, the paint that Wanda uses in the nursery, the brand of the paint is Simser, which happens to be the last name of the series storyboard artist, Jeremy Simser.
Cool.
So, fun thing that I think that's kind of a Disney thing. Maybe not so much Marvel, because Disney, especially in their attractions, would put, if they could, fit names of Imagineers who worked on a specific attraction in there somewhere. So that's kind of a Disney thing to be able to get names of the people that normally wouldn't get recognized. Like, you're going to know Kevin Feige. You're not going to know that the storyboards artist's last name was Simser.
Yeah.
Otherwise, unless you go onto IMDb and look that stuff up.
Oh yeah, you watch through the credits, but there are so many names on that thing. It's like,
and
you're like, thank you, Mr. Simser, and all you other people.
Yeah. So Episode 4, we interrupt this program. So now we're going outside of Westview to actually 3 weeks prior to the start of the anomaly in Westview, with seeing what it was like, at least in one, we can imagine this was the case all over, not just Earth, but the entire universe, because it wasn't just Earth that was affected, as Carol Danvers told us in Endgame. It's like, it's not just your planet this is happening on. It's the entire universe.
Half the universe.
It was half the
Yeah.
universe, yes.
Yes.
But we get a small window of what it was like after Professor Hulk brought everybody back. And in a word, chaos.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, you know, you're 5 years of half these people have been just gone, and then then they all of a sudden show up and like it. And I love what they did with Monica Rambeau, because this opens with she's waking up in a hospital room, but it's not her hospital room. She's there as a visitor, but the bed is empty, and so she's like trying to asks the nurse, well, where's my mom?
Yeah, like, did they take her off for tests or something?
Yeah, and they're like, well, she died like 2 or 3 years ago.
She died for Monica. She died 2 years after she disappeared. So
yeah. So for Monica, she's like,
so her mom's been dead for 3 years, essentially.
But for her, it's like, well, she just had her operation or her surgery, and it was a success. Like, what? Why?
Yeah, she had cancer.
She had cancer, and like, yeah, and it came, and they're like, yeah, and then it came back, and she died, and you weren't here. So, I mean, that is okay, because when Infinity War, Endgame, all those came out, like people were saying, like, well, like what would happen if, there are all these scenarios of there would be a disaster,
which Kevin Feige has clarified that, because people did have asked repeatedly about everyone reappearing after Professor Hulk does the fix it snap, and Feige has said saying that Professor Hulk would account for people's returns and make sure that he would make sure that each person would return safely. So if someone had disappeared on a plane, they're not going to reappear in the middle of the sky or something like that. Everyone would rematerialize in a safe environment, and not on top of somebody else either, which we see that nobody, I mean, because people are panicked, people are running around, but as people are rematerializing, they're only running into somebody because there wasn't somebody standing there just a moment ago.
Yeah,
it's like materializing like in somebody who happens to be sitting there in a wheelchair or something.
Yeah, but it's like all these people just showed up and they have no idea, because for them it was like 2 minutes. They reappeared where more or less where they disappeared and when they disappeared. They don't realize that 5 years
same clothes they were wearing,
same
when
clothes.
They disappeared.
And I love that they address that with this with Monica and her mom, and we see like, oh my gosh, like you, like for you, your mom should be fine, she should be in this hospital room just recovering from surgery, and no, she died because you've been gone for 5 years and you didn't even know it.
Yeah,
and
I can't even imagine.
I was like, thank you for addressing this, as harsh as it is and as terrible as it feels. And then later, when Monica is going back into Sword, and there's those big screens on the up in the ceiling or whatever, showing all the news reports of people who've been families have been reunited, and people this is this great wonderful thing. And it's like, well, yeah, for some people that that were blipped, but like she was blipped and she came back and her mom was gone. And I love that kind of parallel with Wanda, where she same thing with her, she blipped, and the person that she cared the most about was still gone when she came back.
And his body was gone.
And his body was gone. And same with Monica, it's like the bed was empty. So it's like it's an interesting choice they made there, and I don't know if it's I have no idea if it comes from the comics or what, but I just was like, oh my gosh, this is brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah,
loved
because
it.
we only touched upon it just a little in the
Mhm.
last Spider-Man movie,
Yeah.
the fundraiser, and even like Aunt May, was saying, it's like I came back and there were people living in my apartment,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
people would be like, I came back and my spouse had moved on and married somebody else.
Yeah.
We
I
just
mean,
get a
all
little bit of that in Spider-Man, but
Mm-hmm.
this shows like the immediate aftermath of
Yeah.
what happened immediately after Hulk snaps
Yeah.
his fingers.
Yeah, and you see it like through Monica's eyes, because yeah, we're seeing it through her point of view, and she's devastated.
Mm-hmm.
And like the world went on without her, and she didn't even know she'd left.
Yeah, and to come back, it's it's a shock for her, and it's also a shock for us, because she comes back, and we if you paid attention to the the announcements and stuff, we knew that Tiona Paris was going to be playing Monica Rambeau. She did not know that when she auditioned at first.
No.
She's like,
I love that little bit of the whole
she
interview.
knew it was something Marvel,
Yeah.
and she was like, wouldn't it be cool if I was playing Monica Rambeau? And then that turns out exactly who she's playing. But she originally auditioned, she had no idea. So, but we knew that, when we get introduced to Geraldine, we're all like, okay, yeah, Monica, she doesn't know who she is in this reality. So that's fine. But, because we knew we were going to get grown up Monica Rambeau, because she was a little kid in Captain Marvel, because it's the 90s, and here it is, this is now in universe it's 2023, which is scary to think that we're so much closer now to being back in sync with the MCU than we were at the end of Endgame.
Helps that we took a year off for a pandemic, I guess.
Yeah, it was just, I remember at Endgame,
Yeah.
like 5 years later, it's like the MCU is now in 2023, and then in 2019 we're like, oh, that's so far away, and now it's like, no, now we're a whole lot closer to being back in sync with the MCU. It's kind of scary.
Yes. Listen to you.
I know. But it's now it's 2023 and Monica's all grown up, but to find out that the great Maria Rambeau is no longer with us, Carol's best friend, and Photon, the other half of Photon and Marvel, our Avenger, is crazy to think that Monica's gone.
Maria.
Maria's gone.
Yeah.
Where we are now in the MCU is crazy to think about. And something has happened in the relationship between Monica and Carol Danvers.
Yeah, I'm very curious of what's going on there. Like,
yeah, because once she get 3 weeks, everyone comes back 3 weeks later, she's back at Sword, and meeting up with Tyler Hayward, director Hayward, which Shield and Sword just are terrible at picking people in charge. I don't know who decides who's going to be, other than
process
Fury
needs
and
to be
Phil.
changed.
Yeah, other than Fury and Phil.
Well, and I this
And
one
Mac,
kind of made and this one kind of made me think, well, it was supposed to be Monica, but she disappeared, and there really wasn't anyone else. So yes, he sucks. There wasn't anyone else there to pick up the slack.
Right,
Which
but I just even at this point, being introduced to him, I'm like, I'm not gonna like you. I don't know what you're gonna do, but you're gonna do something that's gonna make me not like you. I don't know. It may not be as bad as like going all Hydra on us, but I was like, I could just tell he was going to do something to make me not like him at some point. Just the MCU has just made me wary of authority in general. Unless your name is Fury or Coulson. Sorry.
Yeah, I take comfort in the fact that it was supposed to have been Monica.
Yeah.
But, she wasn't around. So,
yeah.
At least they're not entirely incompetent. but
Yeah. So, but yeah, at this point we have SWORD, the Sentient Weapon Observation Response Division. Not so much observation as response, as we will see as time goes on.
Mm-hmm.
But
Indeed.
before everything, Monica was an astronaut working up in space. But now the astronauts in general have been grounded, including her. So, Hayward sent her to help with the FBI for this missing persons case. And we meet up with Agent Jimmy Woo, who we've not seen since Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I love
Working on his
Jimmy
magic.
Woo.
He's gotten better at
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Flourish. So he's gotten much better at those magic tricks since 2018. So, and that's where we get the outside view of Westview, at least from one side of it.
Mhm.
From the outside, they try to send in a drone, it just disappears. That modern drone ends up turning into the 60s kids helicopter that Wanda ends up finding in her bushes. And then Monica ends up getting sucked in, losing her memories of who she is, and becomes Geraldine until she gets kicked back out again.
Yeah. Which one thing I really liked was, when Jimmy is like, there's the two police officers standing there at the city limits, and there's a big sign, welcome to Westview, and they can see the town, and they're asking him like, okay, where, what's that town behind you? What town? There's no town there. They're like, well, it's Westview. Like, no, it's not. There's no Westview. I live in Eastview, and it's supposed to be, something weird is going on, but at the same time, I am just cracking up because, again, this is Marvel being Marvel, and famous misdirection. Although this one, it feels like it's like take it up to 11 with your misdirection, and what the heck is going on? Because honestly, up to this point, I thought Wanda and Vision were like trapped somewhere, and they were like hooked up to some experiment mind thing or whatever. I just had no idea what was going on, but that was my guess, and I'm like, no, this doesn't make any sense. This is Westview. So I love that this episode just kind of leads you along. But yeah, that scene with the police officers saying there is no Westview, I'm like there is no war in Ba Sing Se.
Yeah.
And if you ever watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, congratulations, you know that that reference.
Yeah. So Monica gets sucked in, and that sends Jimmy Woo's still on the outside, so that sends everybody into, it's like, oh, a SWORD agent has now disappeared into this anomaly. Let's call in the reinforcements. So they set up a kind of makeshift thing, settlements with labs and scientific equipment and everything, and they're bringing in nuclear physicists and chemical engineers and all these sorts of people and all sorts of smart people, and that includes Dr. Darcy Lewis.
About time we see you, girl.
Yeah. So Dr. Darcy Lewis. Yeah, we got to make sure to get that right. She's not just Jane's intern anymore. She's got her own doctorate. So but yeah, so happy to see Kat Dennings back as I love Darcy as a character. So, and she's out of the comics, she's not like Coulson where they made her up. She's from the comics. So but yeah, it is awesome to see her again. She has not changed any. She's just as sarcastic and all the things that I love about Darcy. Nothing has changed at all. But she is the one with her scientific know-how, and this is, at least in universe, somewhat grounded in actual science, because Darcy, the kind of radiation that is coming off of the force field that is keeping everybody out except for Monica, is radiating. It's CMBR, which is cosmic microwave background radiation. It's supposed to be radiation from the Big Bang still reverberating throughout the universe, and creates TV static. So in quasi-reality, in universe, this actually works, that Darcy finds those TV waves because it is thought that the Infinity Stones were created during the Big Bang. And Wanda got her powers from one of the Infinity Stones, so they are going to have a similar signature. So that's why the power
I buy that.
she's
I buy that.
using to create
Yep.
this broadcast is going to be on a similar signature wavelength as the CMBR, because the Infinity Stones were created at the same time that CMBR was created.
Okay,
I like
then.
it.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
The science works.
Yep. Like, I don't know nothing about science, but that sounds good to me.
Yeah.
But since Darcy's the one that found it, she's the one that's kind of watching it, and Darcy kind of gets to be kind of the stand-in for us on the outside.
Yeah.
Where she's watching and she's taking notes, and then when Wanda has the twins, and she's sitting there watching with Jimmy Woo next to her, and she's like, "Wow, twins! What a plot twist!" And Jimmy just sits there. She's like, "What? I'm invested." I'm like, "Sorry."
I was gonna say, yep.
Yep. And
Right there
and
with you.
again, for like the past 3 weeks at this point, I've been hearing people like, "Oh, why are they sitcoms? This is so dumb." And then this episode like validates all of that, all the questions they were
Yep.
asking. And and then Darcy's sitting there like, "I'm invested in this." I'm like, "So am I."
Yep.
Thank you, show.
Yes. Darcy is us.
Yes.
Out
Yes.
here. So.
And then
Darcy's
Jimmy's
the
right there with her
essence, though.
eventually.
Yes. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And then, when Geraldine gets kicked out by Wanda, she pops back out right there where they are, still wearing her 70s costume. And now she's free at the moment to tell them what they need to know, but we have to wait till the next episode to get more of that information.
Yes. So the plot thickens.
Yes.
And nobody seems to know what the heck is going on.
Indeed.
But we are invested.
We are all like Darcy, and we are invested.
Yes.
Which helps, because the next episode 5, is we're now into the 80s with on a very special episode.
And I think this and
Little
maybe
Family Ties, a little Growing Pains,
Full House. Like
Full
I think this
House.
one of all the opening themes was my favorite, probably because these were the new sitcoms when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And it just the theme song, the little family painting, all the little things they're doing. I'm just like, oh my gosh, hello, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Marvel, because this is just this is a delight.
But and like the opening credits, it's kind of that the what Family Ties theme. It's that slow ballad type.
Yeah, Family Times, Growing Pains had the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
But they've got Wanda and Vision running around, because we don't get the opening credits until after kind of the cold open, where Wanda and Vision are struggling because Billy and Tommy as infants are not wanting to go down for naps and sleep at all.
Nope.
Just crying. Auntie Agnes shows up to try and help. She was on her way to Jazzercise.
Size, yeah.
Of course
they-
she was.
Yeah, they have a moment where I don't know, she like flubs her lines, I think is what they're trying to imply, and she kind of breaks the reality of it, but then they just pick it up and just go along. And of course, yeah, Wanda's just trying to wave it away because she's just happy to have help with the twins. But
Mm-hmm.
like, what was that? What was going on? So now Vision is starting to see the cracks as well. And the Agnes is all like going through their cabinet. She's like, I'm just looking for your dark liquor. Oh, not for me, for the twins. What kind of babysitter do you
Mm-hmm.
like? There's the type of babysitter I would be. But then all of a sudden it's like quiet. They're like, did it work? Did she get them to go to sleep? No, they're not crying anymore because they're not infants anymore. They're now 5. Which that in
Mm-hmm.
itself is a TV trope where children, they would replace them with older actors for that same character way faster than a child would actually grow up. As much as parents are like, oh, my child grows too, my kid's growing up so fast. On
Not
TV,
that
not so
fast.
much. Yeah.
Like, that's a little much.
Yeah. Next time I see a parent that post something about, where did my baby go? Where did time go? How'd they grow up so fast? And I'm like, what do you, Wanda? Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
So then we get the opening credits because now they're running around with 5-year-old Billy and Tommy, and they can do stuff, and they get them running through the grass and having a picnic, very much like the Full House opening credits, which fits the time period for one. It is also a nod to Elizabeth's very famous older sisters, Mary Kate Ashley Olsen, who played they both
Michelle.
played Michelle on Full House and
Yes.
never made an appearance on Fuller House. Referenced, yes. Seen, no.
Nope.
Yeah, but just kind of, it makes me happy Elizabeth is kind of is doing her own thing and is in her own right, doing doing well in acting. So you know what? Fair enough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's all good. We're cool with it.
Yep.
But yeah, now that the boys are grown up, we get some more we go back and forth now between Wanda's reality, inside the hex, because that's what Darcy called it, the hex.
Yeah.
Again, a nod to Wanda's powers being referred to as hex magic in the comics. And sword on the outside. So we get to go back and forth now to help kind of move things along here. So in the hex, the boys find a dog. They want to keep it. Wanda is about to give in. She even manifests a collar for said dog. Vision is like, Vision is like, I don't know if they're old enough, and then they're like, we think you should be 10 before you can have a dog. So boom, the boys are now 10.
I like how the twins are looking at each other, and both WandaVision like, no, don't,
No.
stop.
No, and they're like, well, that happened.
So in the span of like 20 minutes, Wanda and Vision have gone from infants to 10-year-old.
Yeah.
As for their children.
Well, and then too, when Wanda fashions the dog collar, Agnes is there, and Vision's just like, whoa, you're doing that in front of Agatha or Agnes? It's like,
Yeah.
well,
She wasn't paying attention. I mean, she wasn't looking in that direction.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like,
Which in sitcoms, if someone is just, if they're just looking over in the corner, they automatically cannot hear you talk or see what you're doing
Right.
or anything like that,
Yeah. Or the fact that Vision first comes into the kitchen and they're like, Wanda's like, "Oh, what's with your your human face?" And he's like, "I was just prepared. I had a feeling that someone was going to drop in unexpectedly with exactly the item we need."
He did.
Comes in with a doghouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, outside at Sword Base, they're doing tests on Monica, and we're learning that Monica was in there. She's sympathetic for what Wanda's going through. Jimmy seems to be on her side. Obviously, Darcy is invested, so she's going to be on Monica's side. But Hayward, not so much.
Nope.
So, yeah.
There's got to be one jerk.
Yeah. He's trying to convince everybody that Wanda is a threat. He ends up showing them what we find out later. Stealthily edited footage of what looks like Wanda busting into Sword headquarters and stealing Vision's body. Which the satellite footage, or the source of that footage, is from Satellite 348. Avengers issue number 348 in part deals with a restored Vision trying to reestablish his former complete identity. Yeah. And
it's funny that they have these superheroes that are there to protect them or to stop the bad guys, and then they just want to blame everything on them.
Yeah. Well, and then Jimmy Woo, based on that, Jimmy Woo is like, well, that puts her in violation of Section 36B of the Sokovia Accords, because they assume that she resurrected Vision. Section 36B of the Accords talks about the creation and activation of artificially intelligent androids, and that actually was mentioned earlier in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. during the Ghost Rider run back in 2006.
Clear back when?
Yes. It seems so long ago.
Wait, 2006?
No, 2016. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, I was like, wait.
Yeah.
I was going to say 2006.
2016. Sorry, I can't even read my own handwriting.
I was going to say,
Why wasn't even a thing in 2006?
Why I write notes when I can't read them half the time is beyond me.
I just mentioned it because I knew we would get emails.
Yes. Yeah, 2016. Sorry. That 1 and the 6. Anyway, I try to write good.
Continue.
Yeah. Anyway, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. connections. Yeah, so we got some divide going on there between people at Sword. We kind of got Rambo, Woo, and Lewis kind of in their own little pod, and everybody else is like, going by the books, following Director Hayward, and that's not going to go over well.
Probably not. No.
Especially when at first, Monica gets the idea that because she realizes, because her clothes, her 70s outfit retained itself when she came back out, and it's in the lab, and when they test it, it comes back as mostly Kevlar because she was wearing Kevlar clothing when she went in, and that makes them realize that what goes in is just being rewritten if something enters.
One thing I liked about that moment, because I was kind of thinking like, okay, well, her clothes changed when she went in, but she got to keep they stayed the same when she came out. Why is that? And she made this comment like, Wanda let me keep the clothes as they were. So it's kind of like Wanda doesn't really mean anything malicious.
Exactly.
With all this. So like all these questions that people would come up with, like I came up with it and I thought of that, they answer in this show. Like there's some shows or movies that are just like, well, you just have to accept that's how that's how this world works.
Yeah.
And that's it. But they actually they make a point. Yeah, I mean they make an effort to make these things make sense, at least in these middle episodes, and I really appreciated that. And I loved that they did that, because that means that they're thinking of their audience, they're thinking of their story and their characters. So it was good to see that.
Yeah. Well, it also comes into play later too.
Well, yes, too.
Stuff that goes in comes back out.
Yeah. It at the time I was like, oh, this is awesome. You guys are actually competent at this.
Yeah. Well, and it's like Monica says, because it's like she threw you out. It's like, yeah, but she threw me out. Like if Wanda had actually had ill intent, she could have just, done her Scarlet Witch thing, with her hands in her wispy things, and just putted Monica out to anywhere. I mean, she could have had her just appear outside of the hex in Timbuktu. No, she had her fly out on the lawn on her back, somewhat safely right there where people could get to her and get her medical attention. And she would be safe.
I mean, she wanted her gone, but she didn't want her dead.
Yeah. Yeah. So Vision goes back to work. Now they've got the internet, dial up, but they have the internet and electronic mail. Thanks, Norm. And again, reality is seeping in. They end up accidentally getting an email from Darcy, and Vision ends up unlocking Norm for a little bit, but Norm's just so like, oh my god, he ends up putting him back under because he's just so distraught he's not really able to get answers out of him.
And Vision is so weirded out by it that he's like, I can't deal with this, so go back to sleep.
Yeah. In the meantime, the Billy and Tommy are taking care of Sparky, straight out of the comics. They did have a dog named Sparky. Although I think Sparky was an android. He was an android dog. So the name Sparky is even funnier when you think he's a robotic dog, kind of like Canine. So they've got the dog Sparky, but Sparky ends up escaping and running away when Sword sends in that drone that's from the 80s. Therefore, it should not need to be rewritten because it's era appropriate. Try to make contact with Wanda, but the droid ends up being armed, and Hayward, being a dick that he is, tries to shoot Wanda. Does not work very well. She ends up taking the remains of the drone back, leaving the hex. Back in her that's the outfit she wore from Civil War, I think. And being like, this is your one warning. Leave me and my family alone. I won't hurt you. I won't have to hurt you. Just go. Which does not do well for Hayward's ego at all.
No, indeed.
But so then Wanda goes back. Hayward has to go with his tail between his legs at the moment, and they go looking for Sparky, and unfortunately he's found at Agnes's house. Apparently he got into the azaleas and ate some of it, which azaleas actually are toxic to dogs, among other plants. So if you have an animal, you may not want to plant azaleas in your garden, in your curb appeal, just in case, because animals don't know. They will just chew on things. They don't know what's bad for them.
Although, hence the title, A Very Special Episode.
Yes.
And it
'cause-
works. It works on so many levels.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because
Well,
sitcoms that were generally funny
Mhm.
occasionally would have a very special episode where they would focus on something a bit more serious, like a death in the family, or somebody getting an illness diagnosis, or
Yeah, or drug and alcohol and
yeah,
Right.
something like
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. And Hayward should be taking a page and paraphrasing out of a certain doctor's book. You don't want to see her angry.
Yeah.
You're not going to like me when I'm angry.
No, it's like, again, these are superheroes. Like, you guys, freaked out on them about like the Sokovia Accords and everything. So why are you trying to piss her off?
Exactly.
Exactly. So,
that oops might not actually be an oops. It might be intended.
yeah. Yeah. But we have this beautiful moment though, with Tommy and Billy after Sparky dies, where they want their mom to use her powers to bring him back, and she kind of has to explain, it's like some things can't be reversed, which, considering we know what is what Wanda's done, is kind of hypocritical, but I don't think she at this point has really realized what she has done. She's starting to, but she hasn't realized the full extent of what she's done. So they have to have a very serious talk with the boys about death and grief, and they looks like they're going to age themselves up again to, I guess, grow to be more mature, to be able to handle their feelings. I don't know how aging yourself up would help.
Well, they're like, well,
with
it
your
worked
grief.
before. Let's do it again.
Yeah. But yeah, so they have that talk, and then when the boys go to bed, and it's just Vision and Wanda, and he tells her about what he experienced at work, and they try to go to ending credits. But Vision just won't let it go. This kind of argument they're having, and then we get that shot that I think was in the trailer of them both levitating in the living room, facing off to each other. And he finally gets through to Wanda a little bit, because he's like, I don't remember my life before us coming here. I know you're controlling these people. And he admits that he's scared. He's like, I'm scared for what this means for us, for our family, our future, that sort of thing. And that kind of gets through to Wanda. And she's like, I don't know how I did this. I don't, it's like, I'm controlling it, but I'm not. And there's they're having this kind of heart-to-heart moment, and now that they've kind of got their frustrations out, and the doorbell rings, and guess who's come to town? Peter? Question mark?
Don't you have a hug for your long lost brother?
Yeah.
It is Pietro, and yet it is not him.
Yes.
Not as we remember him in this universe.
Yes.
And Darcy's reaction.
She recast
Pietro.
That's so meta.
Yes, that line works on so many levels.
Yes,
especially
it
because
so meta.
It's Evan Peters who played Quicksilver in the X-Men
Fox
X-Men universe.
Yeah.
And cue every theory. Is this the multiverse? Here we go. We're gonna do it. They're actually gonna do it. And keep your finger on that thought, because
question mark?
Yeah. Question mark, head tilt?
Yes.
Yeah.
More question marks than the Riddler. Let's just leave it
Yeah.
there.
We'll get to that. Get to that.
Yeah. Then we go to closing credit.
Yes.
And move on to episode 6, the all-new Halloween Spooktacular, because you have to have at least one holiday themed.
Of course.
Right.
And
any sitcom.
Yes. And of course in this one it has to be Halloween, because they get to dress up as traditional Scarlet Witch and traditional Vision, which given what happens later in the series, I'm like, how did Wanda think to even do that? Like,
Mm-hmm.
Well,
want to
according
know
to
where
her, she's a Sokovian fortune teller.
Right.
Oh.
So,
And
Vision is
a
supposed to be a Mexican
luchador.
wrestler.
Yeah.
Vision's the luchadores masks do not look like that.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
they
he also
don't.
doesn't know any Spanish either, other than
That is
chili
true.
con carne.
Yeah.
So,
I was like, that's not what you think it means.
yes. Well, it means chili con carne is what it means.
Right. Yeah. Chili with me, but still. No.
Yeah. So, but now we're in the 90s.
Mm.
Our opening credits are a homage to Malcolm in the Middle,
Mm-hmm.
with the crazy opening. You know, looks like they filmed on their home camcorder by Billy and Tommy. The lyrics, you really have to. This is where you get to the point where the lyrics start. The lyrics also in the opening theme are pointing you towards not everything is what it seems.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like our very first one was just a newlywed couple. All this
Newtown,
happy, but now as we go along, the songs that have lyrics are starting to get more showing the cracks in reality as to talking about life sometimes can seem like it's chaos, and all sorts of things. You just have to listen to the lyrics of the song. So
WandaVision! Don't try to fight the chaos. Don't question what you've done. The game can try to play us. Don't let it stop the fun. Some days it's all confusion. Easy come and easy go. What if it's all illusion? Sit back and enjoy the show. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Through each day, so today. Let's keep it going. So there may be no way of knowing who's coming by to play.
But yeah, it's fun. And then you get Billy and Tommy breaking the third wall in this case, talking directly to the camera like Malcolm did in Malcolm in the Middle.
Yes.
So that's fun. But it's Halloween, and the boys are supposed to go trick-or-treating with their parents. Vision claims that he's supposed to be on patrol because he's joined the neighborhood watch all the way back in episode 2, and so Uncle Pietro is like, "Oh, I'll take him," and of course, he's being the crazy uncle, bad influence. They even call him a man-child in the episode. And Billy and Tommy get Pietro gets a version of Quicksilver look from the comics, and one of the boys, I can't never remember which one's which, who will eventually end up with similar powers, gets his version of the costume, and then the other one has, I think that's Billy, I think, and then Tommy's the one with the longer brown hair, I think. I can never remember. They're not even like identical twins too.
No, but
I still can't tell you which one's which. But then the other one is wearing a version of his costume from the comics as well. So everyone's kind of wearing their classic comic book character costumes for Halloween, which it works perfectly. And I love how they did not, even though this is Marvel and Disney, if you watch the townsfolk, nobody is wearing like a Disney costume or another Marvel character or something. Even for that era, you know, at this point we're in the 90s, so you could easily have like a little girl walking around as the Little Mermaid or something.
Or
But they don't
Belle,
do
yeah.
that. They're just
Yeah.
wearing generic costumes, you know, girls in poodle skirts. Herb is just dressed as, you know, Frankenstein's monster, you know, people as vampires, just your very kitschy, generic, no
Yeah.
product placement whatsoever, as far as I could tell, in the Halloween costume.
Yeah.
Which
Well,
I love that
Disney,
they did.
yeah.
Didn't
Disney
do that.
figures you already bought a subscription to Disney Plus,
Yeah,
so they have your money.
yeah, that's true. So, but, yeah. So as they're trick-or-treating, we get Wanda and Pietro talking. A lot of Pietro's comments kind of make you think that he kind of knows what's going on. He knows what Wanda did, but he's okay with it. You know. And again, they get kind of meta where she's like, "Where's your accent? Like, what happened to your accent?" He's like, "What happened to your accent?" And she's like, "Oh, well, I don't have an answer for that, do I?"
It comes and goes.
It comes and goes. Which I've never had an accent other than the one I have, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess if you throw me in a different country, you know, I would have an accent compared to elsewhere. But accents actually can come and go depending on where you live and who you're surrounded by. Because my mom was born in the United States, and therefore she was born in Oklahoma, so she kind of has that, you know, center USA Midwestern accent.
Yeah.
Until she was 3-ish. And then her family moved to Australia. So when she first moved to Australia and she went to school, she stood out because she had an American accent. But after living there so many years, she ended up developing an Australian accent.
Yeah, I would do it.
So when they moved back to the United States, to Indiana, she was the kid that stood out because now she was the weird one with the Australian accent. Until she lived in the Midwest long enough and developed the accent that she's had now for most of her life, that Midwestern Indiana accent. So yeah, accents can come and go depending on who you're with and you're surrounded by, and
it doesn't even have to be like that dramatic of a move. Like, you know, when I'm home around, like, you know, out in the on the farm in the rural area, I notice like my Utah rural redneck accent, and I can't even describe what it is. But it's there, and like and I'll pick it up, and then I come back into the city and I'm a little more refined and a little more that way. But yeah, it's not really a Southern accent. It's kind of this sort of hasty drawl a little bit. And I can't even do it on command. It's just I have to be in that frame of mind, or, you know, if I'm really angry, it comes out. But so yeah, it's even just accents come and go.
Yeah, I've been told they killed many accents with me because I guess me moving so many different places. I even get British accents. I'm like, but I've never even been to Britain. But I'm constantly getting told I have a British accent. I'm like, but okay.
Yeah.
My name literally means from Britain, but I've never been. It's kind of funny.
I don't think those people know what a British accent sounds like.
Yeah, I don't.
Tell them to watch Mary Poppins and not listen to Van Dyke.
I was always confused by that. Like, okay.
But yeah,
anyway,
accents and can come and go. So yeah, anybody that's like, what happened to Wanda's accent? It's like, it's circumstantial is what it is. So
yeah, and you know, she's probably been away from Sokovia long enough that
and she's been living with a bunch of Americans, mostly Americans. Thor's got accent.
He's Asgardian.
Yeah. So he's kind of British, but Chris is Australian, but Yeah. So
It's that was an interesting case.
yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, we get some interesting interaction between Wanda and her and brother Pietro, and she opens up a bit more about the feelings that she's been trying to deal with, with the grief of thinking she lost her brother and Vision and all of these things. So we're really starting to get into the weeds here, which again in the stages of grief could be considered the upward turn, where you're kind of getting to acceptance, where she's actually acknowledging her feelings, which is a very important thing, very important step. But Vision, while on his fake patrol, ends up wandering to the edge of town and discovering that it's very Twilight Zone the further away you get from the WandaVision household in the center of town. There's some people that are just frozen in place. There's some people that are just repeating movements. That poor lady who is like trying to hang up a decorative ghost, but her arm is just swinging back and forth, and you see the tear come out of her eye and go down her cheek because she's aware. They are aware, because Wanda's still got control over them, but it's not as strong to the point where they're on autopilot and can actually go through their daily life.
And it's like they get stuck because because the control is still there, but it's not very strong.
Yeah.
So it's just sort of okay, she's not actively controlling them, but it's still there. I don't know. I had a weird thought about it when I first watched it, and now I can't remember what it was, but it was just like, that is so freaky. And you're right, it's like kind of Twilight Zone-ish.
Yeah. And Vision encounters Agnes in her car. He frees her, air quotes again, frees her. Oh, we'll find out why. Yeah. We'll find out a bit more about that in a moment. So he gets some information from her. She's like, "You're one of the Avengers. Are you here to save us?" And he's like, "What's an Avenger?" Which we're all like, "Wait, what? You don't know what an Avenger is?" Okay.
Yeah, it's like, oh well, okay. So I'm like, yeah. So this moment, because we're all like, okay, there's something up with Agnes. And I mean, people have been putting forward all kinds of theories, and I am not well versed in the comics, really. Yeah. And I was just like, okay, well, what's and then Vision frees her from the control, quote unquote, and it's like, oh well, I guess there's nothing unless she's pretending. But how could she be pretending that?
And her Halloween costume is a big giveaway.
Yes, but like you said, everybody's kind of got those normal.
Generic costumes.
Generic Halloween
costumes. In her case, hers is generic, but what it is very significant.
Yes, it is.
So, but we don't know that yet at this point.
Nope.
So, but Vision is, he's all like, it's like, I'm going to try to figure things out. And he zaps her back and she goes off to play neighbor, and pass out candy probably. So Vision gets to the edge, tries to escape through the hex, just like we saw Wanda did step through it in the previous episode. But he can't. As he's trying to exit, it's literally ripping him apart and pulling the pieces back into the hex, which kind of makes us wonder, why can't he leave? Why is it trying to pull him back in? Is it because she doesn't want him to find out? Is it because what's going on here? We don't know exactly. So So that's interesting. But in the process of that and the trick-or-treating, the boys show the start of their powers. Billy's the one who's first dressed up and in his costume, and his comic book name was Wiccan, and he has powers very similar to Wanda. So he's a telepath, among other things. And then Tommy, who ends up dressing as Mini Pietro, is known as Speed in the comics and has super speed, just like his uncle. And they are part of the Young Avengers superhero team. So based on them appearing in here, and also that very last post-credit scene that we'll get to in the very last episode, we're likely to see Tommy and Billy again, probably as members of the Young Avengers, because we are getting characters like Kate Bishop and Kamala Khan and Riri Williams in the MCU, and they're all, they probably will age the boys up again, so it's more appropriate. So they're all going to be in that, teen to early 20 age bracket.
Yeah.
That's going to be the Young Avengers with those other characters that we're getting in the other programs. So then we move on to episode 7, Breaking the Fourth Wall. And now we're kind of into now. As close to now as we're going to get as far as actual like TV homages. It's the episode is in the style of like Modern Family. The opening credits, the music is very similar to the Office theme.
Yeah, like all those. I was thinking Office, Parks and Rec.
Yeah, but the style of the opening credits, where it's like it's just Wanda's name, but in different styles, just appearing all over the place. That is actually an homage to a TV series from that era called Happy Endings. Which I did not know this. I learned this from a YouTube video. But Happy Endings was produced by Joe and Anthony Russo.
Oh.
Well, okay then.
It's all connected.
Yeah.
Clever boys.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We've heard of them. They're kind of important to the MCU.
Just a little.
Just slightly.
Just a smidge. Yep. So this is because it's in that Modern Family, Office, Parks and Rec, so that mockumentary type style. So we do get a lot of Wanda and Vision talking directly to the camera like they're being interviewed.
I love
kind of like Modern Family.
Yes.
Which I loved the bit with Vision. He's like, "Why am I talking to you? I need to go find my wife."
Yeah.
Yes, I laughed so hard at that part.
And the team up with Vision and Darcy in this episode.
Yeah, because at this point the family's kind of been the family's been kind of broken apart because Pietro had spouted off. He's like, "Well, your dead husband can't die again," because Vision was being torn apart trying to leave the hex. So he got, Wanda blasted him off, and we don't see him again for a little bit. So he's not there at the house. Vision is off at the edge of town because Wanda couldn't get to him. She ended up just expanding the radius of the hex, which ended up encompassing most of the shield, sword. I want everything to be shield, sword, base, turned into a circus.
Which
I don't know if
cracked me up.
I don't know if the fact that a lot of those sword agents, if this is in some way because Wanda is aware that they're there, if this is some way her commentary on what she thinks of sword, that she turns so many sword agents into clowns.
I thought that was
Possibly.
That was just awesome,
buy it.
especially after director Dick's antics.
Yes. Yeah. But that also ends up including Darcy because she was handcuffed to one of the trucks. And I love that Darcy being Darcy, she would have dropped the F-bomb, but it changes just as it's passing over her, so
Yeah.
it has to censor her, so she's saying fudge instead.
Fudge.
Yes. So good.
No, that was not a nod to the Christmas Story. That
Yeah.
was just very creative
Yeah.
editing.
Yeah.
I've always
But-
loved that kind of editing.
But my brain did go there because I am a Christmas Story aficionado.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, now because the hex has been expanded, now it's safe for Vision again, but now he's at the edge of town again on the inside, so he needs to get back. He ends up freeing Darcy from her control, so they team up, steal a churro truck, ice cream truck,
candy.
elephant candy
I thought
elephant
it was
ear truck,
cotton
something like that,
candy or
funnel
something.
cake. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
circus. It's some sort of junk food, some sort of delivery, food truck, of something, probably of the fried and high calorie and sugar content variety, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get back to Vision's house, and they keep, because for whatever reason, Wanda's trying. Probably, if it was just Vision, she probably wouldn't try to stop him. But because Darcy's there and Darcy's not controlled, she's inadvertently doing all these outrageous stops. Like every light is a red light, even though they're out in the middle of nowhere, essentially this far away from the center of town. Suddenly there's a crew needing to work on electric or something.
Yeah.
And then there's a crossing guard letting apparently every child in Westview all those children that we did not know where they are, they apparently all now need to cross the street all at the same time.
And
that
school, or they're gonna be
that
late.
exact street,
And that exact street.
Yes.
the highway in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And Darcy's just like, really?
Yeah.
What next?
Don't ask Darcy, you will get an answer. And
Yeah,
you don't want the
right.
answer.
So the Vision just takes off. She's like, okay, I'll see you there.
Take me with you. We'll lead the
Yeah.
truck.
Yeah. So, yeah, because Sword has been changed into a circus. All the cars and stuff that had the Sword logo on it before, it is now this spectacular world of rapturous diversions.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I missed that.
I did too.
Yeah. So Vision's trying to get back while Wanda she's kind of gone back into a depression a bit, where she's running around in her pajamas. It's the middle of the day, she's eating cereal, just flipping through the TV. Her powers or the hex are on the fritz, because like the boys' video game system goes from being like super advanced to being like Atari. And they're playing Pong.
They're like,
the TV and the house decor is changing from different eras and stuff. Everything's just kind of woo, not under control. Because Wanda's kind of gotten to this point where she's like, I just, the boys are like, where's Dad? What's going on? And she's like, I know you guys expect me to have all the answers. I don't have the answers, and I kind of don't care. I just kind of feel like nothing matters anymore. So, Agnes, being the so helpful next door neighbor, decides to take the boys and watch them so that Wanda can have some time to herself.
Yeah, this is gonna turn out.
Bad
Yeah.
idea. Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
kids, let's head down to the basement.
Yes.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. So, Wanda finally just picks herself up a little bit. At least puts on kind of regular clothes. At least brushes her hair a little bit. And gets out of her robe and sweats.
Puts on some
And
pants. you
yeah,
know.
puts on some pants and heads next door to Agnes's house after Agnes rescues her from Monica, who, after trying to drive her way in with her nuclear bomb shelter on wheels and doesn't work, she just forces her way in. And we see, because we've learned based on the test that they did when Monica returned, that her DNA or her cells have changed from going through the hex twice. And she insists on going through again because she knows that Wanda needs help, someone to support her, and she also knows that Hayward can't be trusted and needs to be there if and when he decides to act in whatever manner he decides to act in next. So we see Monica kind of, as she's working through the hex, we see her change on a cellular level, and I don't know what name they're going to use for her yet. I guess we'll find out in the future which name she's going to go by, whether she's going to go by Photon, which would be a nice nod to her mother, because she did lose her mother. But the way which that would work, but the other name that she's gone by is Spectrum, which also kind of works because we can see that she can see the energy field. So either name would work. It'll be. I'm interested to see which one they decide to go by. Whether they use Photon as a nod to her mom or Spectrum, which is unique to her. So
one thing, like Jared told me, because he didn't watch it with me, but I just kind of gave him the rundown. And if I remember right, she was actually a version of Captain Marvel.
Yes.
At some point. And Jared was like, she's actually the best one.
Yeah.
Because I said, Monica Rambeau's, and it's like, really? He was like, she's one that he really likes. So I was like, well, that would be cool. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, there was in the comics at one point, she did take on the title of Captain Marvel before she changed it. She changed it first to Photon and then eventually Spectrum. So again, we'll see what she decides to end up using.
Yeah,
or they end up using for her in universe. But yeah, she goes and tries to convince Wanda that she's like, I'm here to help. You didn't, you've let me in twice. And I was there for the birth of your children and all those things. So it's like on some level, you can trust me. And she's like, Hayward can't be trusted. Don't let him make you the villain. At this point, Wanda's just like, what if I already am? So, because she's gone into this funk. In this depressive episode. So Agnes comes in and collects her, and she's like, come dear, I'll make you some tea and all that. And,
come into my parlor, said the spider to
yes,
the fly.
exactly. Yeah. She sees the remnants of the boys being there. Senor Scratchy is in his cage, just chilling like a rabbit does. Wanda's like, where are the boys? It's like, oh, I think they're playing in the basement. She goes down in the basement, and of course the boys aren't there, and there's all this weird stuff, strange things, energy, and creepy stuff down in the basement.
Weird things are happening.
Yes. And Wanda finds herself trapped in the basement as Agnes comes with Senor Scratchy petting him. And we learn, unless you were, I guess, didn't do any research and knew nothing about the comics, I'd already done some research, so this was not a surprise to me, but we get the reveal that Agnes is not Agnes, but Agatha Harkness, and it's been Agatha all along.
Who's been messing up everything?
It's been Agatha all along.
Who's been pulling every evil string?
It's been Agatha all along.
She's insidious. Some her videos that you haven't even noticed, and the pity is. It's too late to fix anything now that everything has gone wrong. Thanks to Agatha, naughty Agatha.
It's been Agatha all along.
And I killed Sparky too.
Yes.
Which is the catchiest. Oh my goodness.
I know. It's,
Damn you,
ugh.
Lopez team.
Yes.
Your catchy tunes.
Mhm.
Of
It
all
gets
the
stuck in my
songs
head all
from
the
this
time. It
series,
doesn't help.
I have had this song stuck in my head for so long.
Yes.
Yeah.
It
And
is so
then
catchy.
to add, yeah, and then to add insult to injury, when Wanda tries to protect herself, Agatha's gone and protected the basement with ruins.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's a little magic lesson for you.
Yes.
Pay attention. This comes back later.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is it, you know, because that's sort of Agatha's whole thing is like, well, you're a witch, but you don't know like how anything works. Like this is a basic thing you should know. How do
Yeah.
you not know it? So you know, she's like trying to figure out what is going on with you with Wanda, and Wanda's like, I don't know, I just have powers. They're just here. And where are my kids?
Yeah. Yeah. And well, in the comics, Agatha is a witch. She's in the comics, she's much older. Much older. She looks like an old lady with the white hair and the bun and everything, and the matronly, like she looks more like Professor McGonagall in the
Yeah.
comics than this version. And she's actually a teacher to Wanda in the comics, so she's not an adversary. And then she's also a mother, like I said, to Nicholas Scratch, which is Senor Scratchy's homage in his name. But yeah, she's one of the original witches from the Salem witch trial. She survived, and later on in Marvel Comics, she ended up helping out with people like Franklin Richards as his nanny, and later mentoring Wanda in real magic. So she's not necessarily a bad person in the comics. She's just very powerful, being a trained witch. But yeah, we get that reveal on that catchy song. Oh, so good. And that's Catherine Hahn singing in Agatha's song, where the female voice and the last where she's like, ha ha, that's Catherine Hahn. So I love it. And we find out that she killed Sparky.
But it's kind of like, here, let's add insult to injury.
Yeah, she's like,
Killed your dog.
and I killed Sparky too.
Like, I guess if there's one surefire way to know if someone is a villain, did they kill a dog?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So that leads us into the ultimate episode and kind of the end of the sitcom. At this point,
all the homages. They're gone. Shed a tear.
Yeah, with Previously On, which is such a fitting title.
Yes.
Because it literally is previously on not just what we've seen, but actually what led up to this. So we get a lot of Wanda backstory in here,
which I oh my gosh, I loved every minute of this episode. It is by far my favorite of this series. Probably almost of the entire MCU. I'd have to think about that. But oh my gosh, this is just so well done and so it's unlike anything the MCU has really ever done before, I feel like. Like, you know, I was talking about how, you know, there's been a lot of formula in some of these in these movies. Like we know how this works. They kind of feel like they're kind of repeating Iron Man for some of these characters. And where we've known Wanda for a while and Vision, you really couldn't do that. So it's like she almost gets her origin story in the second to last episode of her TV show. But it's done in such a way that you hit the highlights and you hit what you know, because we already know a lot about Wanda, you know, because we've seen her and we've seen a lot of big things in her life, but we don't really know her. So we see her as a child, like, you know, we were talking about, you know, with her family, and her dad is smuggling sitcom DVDs into their country, you know, during this time because it makes his family happy and it helps the kids have an escape. And you know, and then, you know, we see her parents get killed by the bomb, and her and her brother are hiding, and then there's like that moment where she reaches out to the bomb and she realizes, oh, maybe I did that. Or, you know, Agatha says, did you, you know, ask, you know, did you do that? Was that your power? And she's like, no, I didn't have power until, but, you know, then she kind of realizes, oh, maybe it was. And then you realize that as you're going through this, she's had, like, the sitcoms have kind of been her comfort through all the really hard stuff she's been through, even when she was, you know, volunteering with Hydra, and you know, there was the Brady Bunch on, and I love that they picked the scene where the little girl, and I'm totally blanking on her name,
Cindy.
you know, Cindy, yeah, where the brother is teasing her like, oh, you know, you're talking to that doll, it's not real, and she's like, she's real to me, and it's like, where have I seen this before?
Yeah.
Just now in a few of these episodes, a little bit before, and you just kind of see all these seeds getting planted. And, you know, just when I kind of think the MCU is sort of, you know, coasting on fumes a little bit, they're like, oh, well, here's this little tidbit about this character that we're gonna do, and it's just like, wow, you guys pulled it off. You guys just made this story interesting, where, I mean, I was interested already, but you kept my attention, and this episode is kind of that whole culmination of, yes, it was sitcoms, yes, it was goofy, but it also meant something to Wanda. Thus, I understand something about her that I didn't know before, and it's not just that I understand her, I empathize with her, even though she's done something terrible in taking over this town and everything she's done, and we find out it really wasn't her fault, kind of, sort of.
It wasn't like a conscious decision.
Yeah,
like
it wasn't.
She marched into into this town. And
it wasn't
like,
what
I'm
she
gonna
meant to
hold
do.
all these people hostage.
It wasn't what she meant to do, but it finally gave her a measure of peace.
Yeah.
After everything she'd been through, and so sitcoms. She created that reality because nothing bad happens in a sitcom, and if it does, like, you know, the dog dying, you know, your family is there to make it better, and they play the nice music and everyone hugs, and it doesn't last very long.
Yeah.
So like you said, it's she is mourning, she's allowing herself to go through all these things, and this is how she knows how to do it. And so this episode shows why sitcoms, why it was necessary. And maybe it's a little kitschy, and maybe it's a little corny, but guess what? So are sitcoms. And sometimes, like we said, that's what you need. And it just made me appreciate Wanda just that much more, even though she was already one of my favorite characters and I was already on board for this show. But I was like, yeah, I'm here for it. Like, this is awesome. And that it's, you know, Agatha, who's like kind of, and like you said in the comics, Agatha's a mentor to Wanda. So maybe this is kind of that little thing. And I kind of wish that they had left it there. And I'll explain that in a minute.
Mhm.
when we get to the next bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved this episode. I love the heck out of it, and I'm like, I want more of this, please. Keep doing this.
Yeah. Well, and we get not only a whole bunch of Wanda backstory, but we also get some Agatha too. We see her
Mm-hmm.
being
Yeah.
confronted by her coven, including her own mother, and being
Yes.
accused of practicing magic that's above her station. She's
Yeah, well,
Right.
it's like the dark arts,
Yeah.
Harry Potter,
Yeah.
the Unforgivable Curses.
like
It's that
like we
kind of.
like we've never seen a magic user in the MCU try to work beyond
Yes.
what they're
Yeah.
supposedly capable of and are ready for. Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
So,
Although I thought it was kind of
Commiserate.
funny. It's like it's the Salem witch trials, which we kind of have this perception, this idea that they were going after all these women unfairly, but now it's like, well, it's this coven, and maybe they actually had a point in her case, because she's going after magic that is forbidden or bad or is going to cause trouble.
Yeah.
And it's even the other witches who are like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
So I love that kind of
Uh-huh.
twist on the, usually when we see the Salem witch trials, there's a specific message that they're trying to push through. But here it's like, nah, they in her case, they might have had a point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It turns out that she's tapped into some dark magic that allows
Mhm.
her to essentially feed and take the magic,
Mhm.
suck the essence of a magic user out of them and use it for herself, rendering the person not only magicless but dead. Just
Yeah.
a pile of bone.
And it kind of
It's-
ties back to the one commercial that we had from the 90s with the Yo Magic.
Yes.
Like,
It's like no magic for you.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Bye bye. Have fun in
He's
the afterlife.
Yeah. So that was pretty intense.
Yeah. So that gives us at least some of her enough backstory to know what she's likely after. So then we get back to now, in real time, and she's like, I felt this magic, this big surge of magic in this area. I just had to come and find out what it was.
Mhm.
And Wanda is doing things that even Agatha is not capable of, and Wanda's so much younger, so she's like, I don't want to know your secret so that I can become powerful like you, essentially. So she has her walk through all these memories to try and trace the steps, essentially. So yeah, we see the death of their parents in Sokovia, as they're watching her favorite episode of the Dick Van Dyke Show, It May Look Like a Wallet, season 2, episode 21, which, funnily enough, is an episode about Rob having a nightmare and wants to try and wake up from it. Then we see her after she's volunteered with Hydra and Strucker's under Strucker's watch, although we don't see Strucker in this flashback, but we see her encounter the Mind Stone that was in Loki's scepter, and how it's kind of like the Inhumans, where they have to go through Terrigenesis, but different, because in this case, she already had powers that she'd already kind of tapped into unknowingly, kind of like, in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, where little kids will do magic unintentionally because they don't know.
Yeah.
But when she encounters the Infinity Stone, it kind of just amplifies everything. So
she has that vision of that that silhouette.
Yeah.
Which you're like, oh, who is this, I wonder?
Who knows? So she was always a witch. She just wasn't in tune with it enough to do anything with it. So, but yeah, now that the Infinity Stone has amplified that, but she's still not trained. She's just doing everything on instinct, essentially. She just knows what she needs to do, whether it's to make herself fly, or she needs to, something's headed towards her and she needs to deflect it or something, or she wants to do mind control, or, like we saw in Age of Ultron, she made people see like their worst nightmares. In some cases.
It's less formal training and more learning by the seat of your pants, as it were.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, we get that, and then we see her at the Avengers compound, where she starts training to be an Avenger, and presumably the first time that Vision walks through her wall. Because as we saw in Civil War when he does it, and she's like, Vision, we've talked about this. So this is presumably the first time, and he's talking to her about the loss of her brother, because this is right after Ultron. And they're watching Malcolm in the Middle, and she's trying to explain to Vision, it's like, yeah, that barn just fell on that guy, but it's funny because he's not really hurt.
And and again, bad things don't happen in TV shows.
Yes. At the end, everybody, hugs it out, as they would very meta reference on Fuller House. At the end of it, they'd hug it out, and everybody go on and be happily ever after.
And where's that music coming from?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And then we see the full event of what happened when Wanda went to the Sword headquarters after she returned from the blip. And no, she did not break in. Well, she kind of did. I mean, he could have buzzed her in. It
wasn't as dramatic as director Dick would have.
The way the footage was edited, it wasn't as dramatic. She was just impatient. She wasn't like,
I mean, even
in like, sup bitches,
like even when they were showing it in this flashback episode, I'm like, no, that is not how he showed it, and so I don't think that that's how it went down.
Yeah,
and I'm glad I was vindicated.
Yeah. So, but we find out that no, she did not steal Vision's body, because at this point, Sword at some point, presumably after the blip, they went to Wakanda and picked up Vision's corpse with the Mind Stone obviously ripped out of the forehead. Thanks, Thanos. And have spent time trying to essentially reverse engineer him, is what they're trying to do, so they can rebuild him, so they can have him as kind of their puppet, their weapon, almost indestructible vibranium power,
and Wanda's over here saying, like, look, can I give him a funeral? I think, we should, be able to mourn him, bury him, whatever. And they're like, you're gonna bury
$3 billion worth of vibranium?
Yeah, and she's like, that's not how she sees him, because she genuinely loved him, cared about him, and she wants, to respect him, respect his death. And she's just like, okay.
I mean, Vision was cognizant enough and aware enough that he was presumably considered a living being. He and Data could have an interesting discussion about whether they're
yes.
We've all seen that Next Gen episode. That he had a living will. So of course that was probably Tony Stark helped with that in Stark Lawyers, where they're like my synthezoid who is based on Jarvis's code wants a living will, and they're probably like, yes sir, Mr. Stark.
you pay the bills, you write the checks.
It's like,
yes, we will do whatever you
we
ask.
won't question whether he's actually a being that should have a will or not. But still, I mean, he had a will. He did not want to he did not want to be inspected. He just, if he died, he wanted to be treated just like anybody else and be buried. And obviously
I'm a little surprised too that Wakanda even let them take Vision's body
They
out of Wakanda with
they
considering how
probably
much vibranium.
they probably swept in,
Uh-huh.
you know, because well, I mean, because you got to think of Wakanda after the snap.
Mhm.
That at that point T'Challa had disappeared, so they were
Right.
without a king and a
Yeah.
leader, so they were probably just struggling to just get by. So when Sword came in, they're like, we'll help clean up and help you guys get back together, and they were just like, oh thanks, you know, we need all the help we can get because our king is gone. So yeah, I could imagine that Sword probably came in under false pretenses.
Yeah, they're like, hey, we're totally gonna come and help you out. And they're like, great, pick up that.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Nudge,
Oh look,
yeah.
here's some trash. I'll go pick that up. We don't
It's
want
that
any
fucking-
litter around here. Your country's too beautiful. So, meanwhile, Shuri probably found out after the fact, and she's like, "Dang it!" Although Shuri got dusted too, though, didn't she? So they didn't even have Shuri to.
She did. Yeah.
So they didn't even have Shuri to keep an eye on things. So
Yeah.
between T'Challa and Shuri being gone, they were probably just trying to keep it together.
Very short-handed.
Yeah,
like everybody else.
Yeah.
Yep. So Wanda did not take Vision's body. She ends up, she does break through the glass because she wants to get closer to him, to see if she can still feel him. Kind of replicating that moment we saw in Infinity War, where he's like, what do you feel? And she's like, I just feel you.
Yeah, and she even says like, I can't feel him anymore, and so she leaves.
Yeah, she leaves, and drives off to New Jersey, because Vision had left her a deed to a piece of property where they were going to build a house and live together.
Yep,
happily ever after. So that's why she was there. But then when she gets there and sees that there's nothing because they never got a chance to build that house, that's when she's just so, everything that's happened up to that point is just finally spills out. That's the straw that breaks the camel's back, is standing there with this deed with Vision's little heart written on it, to grow old in, love V on it, and she just, that's it. That's just, she's done, and the dam breaks, and everything, all of her grief just pours out of her, and it literally pours out of her in the manifestation of her magic, creating this, what becomes the hex.
Yep. So she didn't mean to do it. She didn't engineer it. It just happened.
Yeah.
And all those poor people got caught up in it, and she was just like, well, I have this thing, so I am going to take it and run with it. And she creates a version of Vision in the thing. So the reason that he was getting sucked back into the hex, or he was falling apart when he was trying to leave the hex, was because he's part of it. If he leaves, he cannot. He won't be anymore. He will disappear.
Sorry, Keanu, you cannot leave the Matrix.
Yeah. So yeah, all of Hayward's claim that, she stole the thing and we need to get it back. No.
Liar.
What a liar.
Liar, pants on fire.
Did we expect anything different?
Nope. We got to that point, and then we see the how it actually played out. I'm like, I knew it. I knew you did something that was gonna make me mad at you, and that's it. It's like, you made Wanda look like a bad person. Yep. So and so, you dick. No. Yeah. So now we've got, we've gotten all that backstory for Wanda, and it gives all the information that Agatha needs. And we finally get the name drop, something that they even reference in an earlier episode when they're giving what backstory they have on Wanda. Jimmy Woo, when they first get together at the kind of the sword base thing, and Hayward even brings that up because he keeps calling her Miss Maximoff or Wanda Maximoff, and he's like, wait, she doesn't have a nickname or something, like Iron Man and Captain America and all that. He's like, no. I was like, that's funny. Because I mean, for the longest time since she's been introduced in the MCU, we've called her Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
But she's never actually been called that.
No.
In the MCU, we just know that's
and
who she's
mostly
supposed to
because if I'm saying this right, it is her name when she's in the X-Men continuity, and
so they weren't
Disney
legally allowed to use it.
Yeah, so she's just
the name.
She's just been Wanda in these movies.
Yeah,
but Disney, Fox,
they bought them, so we get to this episode, the end of this episode, and Agatha's like, "You're the Scarlet Witch," and I'm like, "Ha! Named her up."
There it
I'm
is.
really excited
It
about
is
that.
official.
Yes. And then we get a nice little teaser, mid-credit teaser with Hayward again. We finally see what because when Monica and Jimmy Woo and Darcy had been thrown off base, they snuck back on. Monica and Woo ended up leaving again. Darcy stayed behind to do what she does best, hack. And she gets into like the biggest of the big secret files that Hayward has, buried behind multiple firewalls. Project Cataract, which if you've ever seen an eyeball with cataracts, it just looks white. It's very white. And we learned in this post-credit scene that Project Cataract is them using the Wanda's power that she had used to destroy that drone back in the 80s episode. They're now feeding that energy off and feeding it into the body of the actual Vision that had been killed in Wakanda and rebuilt him, and using Wanda's own power to boot him up. But he's all white.
Yeah.
White Vision, which again, straight out of the comics.
Which is like, that's all you wanted it for? I'm like, you are such a
Dick.
We've been calling him Director Dick. I think everybody's been calling him that. But it's like that's
what Darcy called him, so we're just gonna go with that.
Yeah,
he's just
it's like that's what you wanted. That's it. I'm really kind of let down.
He wanted his puppet, is what he
I know, but I mean, that's all he was doing and why he was antagonizing Wanda, because he wanted something with her powers on it. I'm like, you piece of
dick.
Yeah.
Yes. And we're not talking Dick Roman from Supernatural.
No.
But then during Vision with that white and like, oh, kind of crystal, and then I'm like, oh, paraphrase Fleetwood Mac, I keep my visions to myself. I'm like,
Yeah.
Okay. That's kind of where my mind went a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, they now have Vision back online, but he doesn't have Vision's memories and everything. He's been programmed, and his only programming is to stop Wanda and Vision, the Vision that's inside the Hex. But that feeds us into the last episode, the series finale. So if you're wondering if there's a season 2, no, there's not going to be season 2, because it literally says in the title, the series finale. Which I don't think we're going to need to come back to something like this again anyway. We're going to see Wanda again.
Yeah.
So we don't need WandaVision again, I don't think. But this leads into the finale, leads us into what we expect from the MCU, a big throwdown between our hero and the baddie. Because we had to have that eventually.
Well, okay, so I may diverge a little bit here, because like I said, that last episode was just, it felt like the perfect, maybe not ending, but it felt like that was the climax. That was, all of this was leading up to that, finding out about Wanda's past and everything. And then we do get the big CGI fight at the end, and I did like what they did with the two visions. That was like, with the, like, why are you fighting me, and that whole thing about the ship and everything. The fight between Wanda and Agatha, it's like, we've seen those big huge fights in the movies, like, and it looks great on the big screen. On the TV for the first time, or computer screen, I guess, it was just kind of, I wasn't wowed by it, and it kind of felt like a bit of a letdown after everything that we'd been through, and everything that Wanda had been through, and that her conflict, her antagonist was her grief and getting through all this. And then to have that fight, it didn't feel, I don't want to say it didn't feel earned, but it felt like the wrong kind of ending for her. And I don't want to say I was disappointed by it, but I wish they could have done something else. Just because we've seen this, it even had like the sky beam and the, when she's out taking down the hex and everything. I'm just like, I wish you could have done something else.
It's
guys.
not the ending though. That's the thing. It's not an ending for her.
Well, it's the climax of the whole show, where I feel like the climax was before, when she was figuring out, why, Agatha's trying to get her to, spill her secrets, but really she's figuring out why she did all this, how all this happened, and what's been going on with her entire life. So I don't know, I wish the climax could have been something else, and not just another, we're having a big showdown, a big special effects fest, where we've had all this good emotional stuff going on, and we had this great payoff. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I'm like, I kind of felt a little let down, which is weird to say because there was this big action scene, but this really wasn't an action show. It was a smaller story that had repercussions in the long run, but it wasn't this great big dramatic thing. It was just about this young woman who has been through hell and back, and how she's coping with everything that's been going on, and also kind of on a grander scale, how the entire world has been coping with the blip, because we get Monica's part of the story as well. So yeah, I'm a little blah on the ending, but that could just be me, and I fully accept that.
And I fully accept that that's the way you feel. I disagree, but I accept that that's. I accept that's your opinion.
I anticipated that as well.
Yeah. To me, though, the showdown with Agnes and the two visions fighting each other, which I wish I knew where exactly the interview was, because it was just something that somebody referenced in their YouTube video, so I don't know where it originally came from. But apparently, while they were in production, Paul Bettany said something in an interview about how he finally got to act with someone that he's always wanted to act against or act with, that he's always really respected. And he's like, we have these really great scenes together, and it's just fantastic to have this opportunity to act with this person. And all these people are like, oh my god, who's he talking about, blah, blah 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 blah. It's himself.
Yes.
Is what he's talking about, the two visions fighting each other.
Nicely played, sir. Nicely played.
Yes, which I heard that. I heard clips of that interview, and I was just like, "You troll, you're adorable, and I love you." So that part, that was.
I had not heard that until after the fact, and I was like, "Oh my god, he is talking about acting against himself."
I had heard that
piece of shit
after the first two episodes had aired, and I'm just like, okay. I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. I wasn't thinking he was referring to himself, and it's just like, Oh,
He
you.
is the anti Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Because he
Yeah.
tells you something that could be a spoiler, but it's not.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, but just that goodness. But anyway. So no, the two visions facing off against each other and that whole ship of Theseus thing, which I've heard that before. I've also heard it like in way simpler terms of if you have a broom and you replace the handle at one point and you continue to use that broom and then eventually you replace the head part of it, the broom part of it, is
Yeah.
it still the
Mhm.
same broom?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that same idea. It's like,
But
how much of
describing it,
yeah.
the ship of Theseus is like that's more in line of Jarvis / Vision of
Yes, yeah, that's
Mhm.
more his speed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Very cerebral. But it's a great, moment for the two to face each other and kind of have this existential, like, come to Jesus moment of like, well, we can't
Yeah.
destroy each other because White Vision's directive is to destroy the True Vision,
Mhm.
which
But he is the
neither
True Vision.
well, no,
because
because he doesn't have the Mind Stone.
Well, true, but he's got the physical body where Hex Vision is just a construct of Wanda's. Like she created him
But he
out
has
of
the
her
Mind-
magic.
He has the Mind Stone.
Is it really the Mind Stone?
Well, I mean, it's not actually the Mind Stone, but he has something like the Mind Stone in his head that he's able to use, like he
Mhm.
did when he was alive. He's able to shoot beams and stuff out of it. So he has all the abilities that he had with the Mind Stone, but he doesn't have the memories. And then you've got White Vision, who's got similar powers, doesn't have those memories, doesn't have the Mind Stone. Doesn't have the programming that came from Jarvis and all of that. So then, Hex Vision gives him his memories, so that makes him closer to the True Vision, but he still doesn't have the Mind Stone, but he can still function without it. We know that he's got the power
Yeah.
from the Mind Stone without actually having the Mind Stone.
Yeah.
So,
well,
but
and there's
now,
some technical computer stuff in the original Vision, the hardware that's making it work too.
Yeah. So it's like, is now he the True Vision? Does that mean he needs to destroy himself? He doesn't know. Yeah, before he might have, if that's what his programming dictated, but now he's got those memories. He's like, why would I want to kill myself when I've got Wanda out there who loves me and needs me? So now they've got it, that vision just takes off. The White Vision just takes off. So now we've got it open for Vision to come back as well, which I'm sure makes Paul Bettany happy because before he knew they were doing WandaVision, like they called him into the office. He's like, "Oh, they're killing me off. I'm done. No more job for me in the MCU." And they're like, "No, we're doing a TV show." He's like, "Oh, good." Jing. Yeah. So that's a great face off, and it gets you thinking on an existential level. But then Wanda facing off with Agatha. Yeah, I mean, we don't necessarily need the big, beam in the sky and everything, but this is Wanda's opportunity, and this is really seeing us seeing her go through those steps of grief, almost, boom, 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 and eventually reaching acceptance. Like, like I said it when we started, is like, people go through these stages of grief, but it's not boom, 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 boom. You'll bounce around, you may stay in anger for weeks and then go to depression, and you may stay there for a couple days, and then you may have a really good day and it may seem like you're on the upward term, and you may stay there for 6 months, and then something may happen. The next thing you know, you're in pain and guilt again. So it's not just checking off the things, but at this point, after Agatha making her go through all those memories, that's the kind of the working through stage of the stages of grief, where you should be going on that upward turn, acknowledging your feelings and willing to face them and work on them and learn how to function in this new reality that you're in, you know, whether it's you're grieving a loss of a loved one or you're grieving something that happened to yourself. I mean, you can grieve not just because someone you care for passed away. You can grieve, maybe you were abused as a child and you're grieving your loss of innocence or something like that. It's not just death that you can grieve. You can grieve all sorts of things. But we've seen Wanda go through these steps in whatever order, however you want to label them, through all these episodes. But now she is faced, there's no denial at this point. She can't turn away from it. She needs to get out of the depression. She needs to work through her anger. She needs to work through the guilt and the pain and all the anger and everything. And she takes that out on Agatha. Agatha is the one that made her confront her past. And I think on some level in Wanda's mind, that makes Agatha the enemy. Not because she's a witch trying to steal her powers. She's just the enemy because she's made her do what she's not wanted to do up until this point, because it's been too painful. And she's lashing out at Agatha. But at the same time, that's exactly the catharsis that she needs to reach acceptance, which is what she does when she traps Agatha with those runes, using the lesson that Agatha taught her back in the basement, and fully becoming the Scarlet Witch with the outfit and everything, and accepting who she is, accepting what she's done, and moving on from there, and defeating Agatha, putting her back in that role of the nosy neighbor Agnes, so that she can go back to Agatha if she needs her, which she probably will. We will be seeing Agatha again. Probably sooner than we think. If she does not show up in Doctor Strange 2 next year, I will eat a large piece of bread. I don't know. I would say eat my hat, but I don't really want to eat a hat.
No.
I
Well,
will
especially
eat a really, really big cookie, and I might get a tummy ache.
Well, and especially because there was some stuff set up that didn't really pay off no, it didn't pay off at all. And I'm going to talk about not Pietro.
Yes.
Ralph Boner.
Yeah, Pietro.
Which where I'm like, okay, why did you go to all so Pietro was supposedly, Agatha's mole into, Wanda's psyche, what her plan was. So, and it turns out, and
I think she thought she could use, it's like, oh, it's my brother, I can speak to him and be open and honest with him, and
and she
got that, but it wasn't enough information that she wanted.
But it's like, okay, on this side, for us, the audience, we're looking at it like, oh my gosh, that's the Quicksilver from the X-Men movies. Disney's gonna bring in the X-Men. Marvel's gonna bring in the X-Men, and it's gonna be that universe and all this stuff. So you cast Evan Peters. Oh my gosh, what are you gonna do? Are we getting the multiverse? And no, he was a nobody. He was a guy from town that Agatha supposedly was married to. He's the mysterious Ralph, and he's a loser. He's a bum, and it's all this set up to make a boner joke. And I'm like,
I think it's hilarious.
I'm like, why did you cast this? Why did you cast him of all people to do this? I mean,
because they knew that that's what it was going to do to people.
Well, yes,
Mhm.
and then you didn't. Then
It's trolling on such a
Uh-huh.
level.
I know, and I don't
Mhm.
appreciate it. I was very upset. I'm like, you got us all excited for this. You promised us something, and
They didn't.
You
They
yes,
never
you did because you cast Evan Peters. That was the promise.
that they
is a-
never
that-
they never said.
No, you don't have to say, but the fact that that's who they cast, yes, there's an unspoken, we're gonna do this. Why would you cast him if you're not gonna do it?
They might still. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing because other than Vision, Billy and Tommy, and Agatha, everyone else that we see and encounter, including Ralph, is a resident of Westview, and therefore that person, the real person, exists in the MCU.
But he's not who we were led to believe he was.
No, but neither
as the character
neither was anyone else in Westview.
But he's different because we've seen him in other movies connected to Marvel, connected
but not the MCU.
To, no, but Disney has X-Men, and there is this understanding, or there is this assumption that they're going to do it.
Yeah, but that's just
well,
yeah, we're going to get the X-Men, but we're not going to get Fox's X-Men more than likely.
No, but I'm just like, I'm still hung up on why did you cast Evan Peters of
because
all people?
It's funny. and you can and on top of that you can throw in the Kick-Ass reference, which actually was unintended but still funny.
I guess I'm a little more invested, or a little more maybe not invested, but a little more attached to that idea, and when they didn't deliver, I was really upset.
No, but you're getting upset on something that was never promised.
I'm going to disagree there, because I think they did promise it by that casting stunt.
I don't think so. I think it was just a stunt. I think that's exactly what it was. It was just stunt casting, just to see what happened. And now they know. Now
they know. And
I never watched those X-Men movies though. The only movies from that universe I watch are the Deadpool ones. So
the thing about that particular character is, even of the movies that he was in, even in the really crappy ones that really didn't, like Apocalypse was kind of
yeah,
his scene was by far the best, and his scenes, like, it's I don't know, I mean, if you haven't seen him, look him up on YouTube.
Yeah,
it's Quicksilver scene from Days of Future Past and the one from Apocalypse where he's doing the slow-mo, and everybody remembers it, and everybody's like, that was so awesome, and I love that Quicksilver. The rest of the movie is like, I mean, Days of Future Past was good, Apocalypse was mediocre at best.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like, they got him, because that's the character, that's the guy we remember doing all those funny, crazy things, and it was so cool. And he's the one character that MCU had a version of and the X-Men had a version of, and it's like, well, which one do we like the best? Well, we like this one because the MCU Quicksilver got killed in his one and only movie. So people are thinking, oh, okay, they are going to do this. This is it's a favorite character, one that's well known, that has a favorable image from those movies, even the ones that weren't great. And so that's why people went nuts. And I guess if you haven't really seen or paid attention to the Fox X-Men movies, then yeah, you wouldn't have that attachment. I saw him. I'm one of those. It's like I YouTube his scenes every once in a while just because they're so great and the music's great and it's what they did with the characters really great. So yeah, I got excited, as did a lot of people. But yeah, if you haven't watched those movies, then I guess you wouldn't have that attachment. So yes, that's why I'm annoyed. But there we go.
Yeah, see, I haven't watched them, so I don't have that connection. So
you should at least YouTube the Quicksilver scenes, because
I've seen one of them.
Okay,
on YouTube, just because it popped up. So, but
the one from Apocalypse, I think, is the better one. But they're both great.
Yeah, but in general, it's like, yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so there's that. But then they have that really great scene where the Hex is kind of fading out, or caving in, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And Wanda says goodbye to her little family, and I'm like,
yeah. Again,
I'm
more,
not going to
more
cry.
of that acceptance.
Mhm.
She's accepted her role as the Scarlet Witch. She's accepted what she's done, as as her role in essentially taking this entire town captive and holding them against their will, making them feel her pain. When they do sleep, they would have her memories. So she's not the one having nightmares. They are, separating people from their families, their kids, their loved ones, and that sort of thing. So returning that part of New Jersey back to what it was, letting those people go back to their lives. And because the hex no longer exists, that means the loss of her children, and at least this version of Vision, which is the biggest thing, and the biggest part of acceptance, and the fact that it's very sad, but at the same time somewhat hopeful, because they have that moment. They're like, we've said goodbye to each other before, but we've come back. So it stands to reason we will see each other again. And yes, because White Vision is out there now with his memories intact, they can come back together.
Yes.
At some point in the future, hopefully.
And I am very excited.
Yes. Which
That one
is the the ding.
Yeah.
Wanda's obviously still got things to work through, and we'll get to that in a moment. But at least here going forward, she's not gonna be essentially shackled and weighed down with all of that grief and trauma that she's carried around, essentially since she can remember. Even before the death of her parents, like I said, they were living in a war-torn country, which could not have been pleasant.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So, and everyone goes back to their lives, not knowing that by giving them their lives back, Wanda had to give up hers. But
but all they know is you enslaved us for however long it was. And so they're not really going to look favorably on her, even if they find out what she gave up. It's still going to be, but you locked me in my own head and locked my daughter in her room, and I couldn't even see her or talk to her, and I can't, or I couldn't even call my elderly parents to make sure they were okay, and someone needs to check on them.
Yeah.
So it is a complicated situation.
Yeah, very much so.
And all brought on because Wanda just didn't know what her powers could do.
Yeah, she did Elsa's Let It Go, but in the opposite direction. Elsa was celebrating letting go. What? Letting go and
to quote Rocket, we all got dead people.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
meanwhile, Monica, after being badass and using some of her newfound powers to stop the boys from being shot by Agent Dickhead, Director Dick, she is called in for a new assignment. She is headed back into space,
by an old friend of the family.
Presumably, yes, considering the person that tells her that she has a new assignment ends up being a Skrull. And just kind of gestures upwards. The odds are she's probably headed to that space station that Nick Fury was hanging out in, acting like he was back in Spider-Man. So I think we're going to see Rambo and Fury together again sometime in the future.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Probably with some scrolls.
Yep.
We'll find, hopefully, probably for Captain Marvel too, more than likely.
Yeah.
And maybe Secret Wars too, because we are getting Secret Wars at some point in the future too. But yeah, more than likely for Captain Marvel too, and maybe we'll all find out what exactly happened between her and Carol. That there's a little baggage there. So yeah, Monica's headed back to space, hooking up with Nick Fury, more than likely. So that'll make her happy. She was ready to get back to work and get back to space. She was not happy about being grounded, but
no,
all's well. It ends well. And then we get our extra end credit. Really end credit, kind of. It's not even really end credits because it's really weird with the credits. Because like there's the fancy credits that we come to expect where you get the credits for all the stars and everything and fun graphics and everything. And we only got a couple of mid-credit scenes after the fancy credits. But then this time you get the fancy credits, the scene with Monica and the scroll. And then you get the just regular text credits. And then this scene, and then we get the credits for all the foreign language cast and crew. So
Yes,
technically
'cause
it's still another mid-credit scene because the credits aren't technically done. It's like not mid-credits, it's like okay, some more credits and then another scene and then some more credits. So it's like 2/3 of the way credit scene, maybe. I don't know.
Anyway, it's in there.
It's in there, and taking a page from both Doctor Strange and the Incredible Hulk movie. Really, with the crap. Who's the guy that played Bruce Banner the second time around?
Edward Norton.
Edward Norton. Yeah. Edward Norton
Yeah.
Hulk, where we get that post-credit scene where he's hanging out just out in the middle of nowhere. Kind of taking a page from that too, the Edward Norton Hulk, where Wanda has gone off into isolation, just chilling, making tea, presumably, watching the stream go by, enjoying the sounds of the birds and the wildlife. And oh yeah, she's astral projecting, reading the Book of the Damned, the Darkhold. Did we mention the Darkhold?
No, I think we forgot it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
For
she's
those
like
of
totally.
you that gave up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and are very confused now about where that book came from,
Please go back and refer to the season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., please.
that would be that same season the Ghost Rider appears in.
Yeah.
2016, not
Cross-reference
2006.
over here, and
Yes. Yeah, I loved. Which some people are like, it's not the same Darkhold. It doesn't look the same. I was like, that. Just because it doesn't look the same does not mean it's not the same book. I mean, we saw the version where like mere mortals were trying to use it. We haven't seen what it does. It may change the way it acts
Depending
around
on the user.
On the user. In this case, Agatha was a witch and extremely powerful. Plus, we don't know exactly what's been happening with the Darkhold because we saw it in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. way back in 2016, and Ghost Rider, that our MCU Ghost Rider played by Gabriel Luna. Why is my husband using the blender at this time of night? I don't know. Anyway, very loud. Sorry, I got distracted. Loud noise coming from the kitchen. So, Ghost Rider takes the Darkhold, takes it to hell. I haven't seen the series yet. I haven't seen Marvel's Runaways, but apparently it makes an appearance in there too. I don't know where that fits timeline-wise, but it pops up there. So who knows what's happened to it between going to hell and popping up here? So, as we've seen in Doctor Strange, when it comes to magical books, really anything is possible.
Mhm.
And the fact that she's reading that thing very intently while we hear a little bit of Tommy and Billy yelling from somewhere, because in theory, the current theory is it could either be Tommy and Billy who still exist in another universe, hence Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, or because Tommy and Billy were, as far as, like what Darcy was saying, Billy and Tommy are hers, or Monica, I think, was saying, somebody was saying that those are hers. Those are her kids. They were flesh and blood, just like their mother. They were just tied to the hex and therefore could not leave it. Unlike the version of Vision, who he's a synthezoid, therefore we could get all existential on whether he has a soul, but we can, since he's not flesh and blood, I guess we can assume he doesn't have a soul. But Tommy and Billy probably did, so their souls would have had to come from somewhere for them to exist, so that may be their souls calling out to her, and she's got to figure out a way to manifest them in a way that they can exist outside of the hex. We'll see. Again, we'll find out in Doctor Strange 2, more than likely. So, but still, that's exciting. It makes me. I was already excited for Doctor Strange 2. One, I love Doctor Strange. He's one of my favorite characters in the MCU, in Marvel in general. And two, he's my favorite MCU character that's still alive in his original form, at least. Coulson, a version of Coulson, is still alive, but it's not the Phil that I came to know and love all the way back in Iron Man. Iron Man 2. In Iron Man, in the Avengers and all those, and Shield, until again Ghost Rider, he died. So that version of Phil Coulson is no longer with us, R.I.P. The version that's running around now is an LMD. So he looks like Phil, talks like Phil, acts like Phil, but he's not the original Phil. Again, Ship of Theseus. We could do the same thing with Phil Coulson.
Yeah, and that's probably why they put that in the show. But,
yeah. But then Tony Stark is dead, definitely dead. So that leaves me with Doctor Strange,
which is it's not a bad one to hold on to. So
yeah. So, but this makes me even more excited for Doctor Strange, and I hope that with any luck, we'll see Billy and Tommy again, and Agatha. I have not that Agatha. Oh my god. I love Agatha and Catherine Hahn in this role so much. I have not been this giddy excited over a Marvel villain. I loved Thanos, not loved him I want to give him a hug, but loved him because he's just this is a big deal adversary for the Avengers and the MCU and stuff. So it was exciting to see someone of that magnitude to come along. But I have not been this giddy excited, entertained by a Marvel villain in a long time.
Probably.
I almost want to say Loki, but Loki goes pretty much back to almost the beginning. Loki's been around long enough. I would say probably David Tennant in Jessica Jones as Kilgrave. Yeah. He was awful, but he was entertaining. Extremely entertaining.
Yeah.
So, and I feel the same thing about Agatha and the cosplay possibilities. On top of everything, Marvel, you're killing me. Killing me, Smalls.
They already have your wallet, so now they gotta spread the love to Joann's and Michael's craft stores.
Yeah.
Anyway. So that was WandaVision, guys.
Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. I had my nitpicks, but they're on the whole, I really enjoyed it, and I'm like, more like this, please.
Yes. Well,
Yeah,
the nice
good.
thing is that Falcon and the Winter Soldier has started,
Yep.
and it's just as good. It's not the same, which I didn't expect it to be the same. It definitely feels. It still feels like the MCU. This is the thing with Marvel, is they can do such seemingly different things. Like when they introduced like Guardians of the Galaxy, it was like such a different vibe, yet they still fit. So then we get WandaVision, and it's just batshit crazy premise, but it still works and it still fits in the MCU. And now we got Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Granted, we're only one episode in, but there's only 6 episodes for this one, so it's an even shorter run. But and it feels completely different than WandaVision, which I would expect for these characters. But it feels like those characters. It feels like Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes that we've come to expect from things like Civil War. And therefore, it still feels like the MCU. I love it. I just love it.
So, we loved it. We're great. And
you get me started. You get me started on Marvel, and I'm just like,
Well, that being said, we have had a good time. It is getting late.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Some of us a little later than others.
Yeah.
So, if any of our listeners want to chime in on their thoughts on WandaVision, likes, dislikes, WTHs, whatever, send us feedback or, questions that we didn't hit. Send us feedback. Our email address is 5ishfangirls@gmail.com. And you can also find links to all of our social medias at the5ishfangirls.com. You can also find links to ways to support the channel, including Patreon, Amazon, Audible, and various others. And thanks for listening. Thanks for sending in feedback. Thanks for the support. We love you guys, and we hope you are enjoying our ramblings and enjoying whatever it is you're enjoying right now. So stay safe and stay frosty. Although hopefully not too frosty. Because it's springtime. Or it should be. Happy first day of spring, y'all.
Yeah,
or
really.
that was yesterday. Anyway. So
it's all good.
We're making it up as we go along.
Yes. I like WandaVision. They're putting together their story. Yep. So it's been fun. I'm excited to see what's next. I'm ready. My body is ready.
Alrighty.
And my body is also ready for bed. So with that, we shall sign off for this week.
This is Brittany and Troy saying goodnight.
This is Chrissy saying goodnight from Salt Lake City.
This is Sally from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Have fun in prison! Dickhead.
The 6 o'clock alarm would never ring, but it rings and I rise, wipe the sleep out of my eyes. My shaven razor's cold and it stings. Cheer up, sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean to a daydream believer and a homecoming queen? You once thought of me.
You have been listening to the 5ish Fangirls podcast. You can find more episodes and information at the5ishfangirls.com. Any and all books, movies, games, and any other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by the respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied. If you wish to support the show, the easiest way is to leave us a rating and review. More ratings and reviews will make it easier for others to find the show. If you wish to support us monetarily, you can do so at patreon.com/5ishfangirlspodcast. All money goes towards fees and equipment to keep the show going. For official 5ish Fangirls merchandise, visit redbubble.com/people/5ish Fangirls. We love hearing from our listeners and encourage feedback. You can email us at 5ishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/5ishfangirls. Thank you so much for listening, and may the squee be with you.